your destiny.
King Chaka ENT. Y'all can check out the music on Spotify, Apple, and other services. I want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? KCE, King Chaka.
And now, another major production.
I'm about to tell you what the real is. Deep down inside, you got to feel it. Emotions have the most number of killings. Pay close attention to your feelings. I'm about to tell you what the deal is. And when I'm talking, all I'm hearing is some crickets. Yeah, hurry honey, run and get your ticket. Just get the money, it's not always the business. Yeah, forget the $1 million mission. Sometimes I just want to go fishing instead of physically grinding in the trenches. Finding me using my knowledge, intuition. Yeah, Chaka not talking while he so distant. Yeah, Chaka be talking but they don't listen. Yeah, he's sitting, his brain pumping like a piston. I've been chasing the twilight, now I've been bitten. The city's in my sights as if I was a pigeon. Your role is cast, your dialogue is written, it's past control. You're like a Sims minion, what to do now but roam around in and out of buildings. Seemingly living, touching ceilings, but there's no feeling. Willing and dealing, but really there's no winning. I'm sinning and sinning, so what I'm defending stuff's like prison, stuck in the life out of living. I'm about to tell you what the real is. Deep down inside, you got to feel it.
Hey.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? KCE, King Chaka. It is what it is, baby. You really not feeling me? Let me find out. Yo, question my ability. Let me find out. Invest in my enemy. Let me find out. There ain't no telling what you finna see. You finna find out. It's something that enters.
Hey. How y'all doing out there? How y'all feel? Remember, an educated and united public cannot be controlled. Learn to be active. Get organized. ¿Cómo estás? ¿Podemos ayudarnos más? Sí se puede. I need to make sure that I'm coming through. Okay. All right, so embrace reality. On the show today, embrace reality. It seems like we're not doing that. It seems like it's a real struggle to embrace reality, embrace what's actually happening, like the truth, you know. In our defense, I would say that we've been programmed to accept the program, if you will. We've been programmed to seek out the program, you know. One thing that I have a problem, I don't really watch TV. I hate the ads, so I can't watch TV because there's ads all through it, and the ads really bother me. Like I really have a problem with them. But certain people have like big, huge televisions. Like they have to have the biggest TV, you know, in every room and always playing. Even when they're sleeping, they let the TV play. It's a thing. Like I say, you've been programmed to seek out the program, to get more programming, because you have to continue to keep getting programmed, or otherwise it doesn't work. It has to keep on reprogramming your brain, because your brain is automatically going to be seeking truth. It naturally seeks truth. You naturally find comfort in truth and reality, like what's actually going on outside of your bubble, outside of your home, what's going on in the real world. That's probably why I really like to watch those nature shows a lot, National Geographic and so forth and so on. They make me feel relaxed, and it's crazy how people are like, oh, that's so terrible when they see an animal in the wild getting ate by another animal or whatever. But that's the nature of the universe. That's the natural balance of things, because that's where you have trouble trying to decide on what's right and what's wrong. Because if you, like I say, you look at it from the predator's point of view, or the prey's point of view, you look at it from the prey's point of view and you're like, oh, it's so sad that little animal got ate. They didn't get to make it home to their family and their kids to feed them and stuff. But then you look at it from the prey's point of view, and it's like, if the prey, from the predator's point of view, if the predator doesn't get to make the kill, then they may die. They starve, and they don't get to make it home to their family and feed their kids and so forth and so on. So the balance in the universe is sometimes the prey gets preyed upon, and sometimes they get away, But not all of the prey animals are going to get ate, That's the thing. The prey animals are always outnumber the predator animals. It's a larger number of prey animals than it is predator animals. And that's the balance. And actually, truthfully, if you really want to know, though, the prey animals keep the predator animals keep the prey animals healthier, okay? Because the predator animal attacks the sick, the weak, the old, the ones that can't keep up with the herd, the ones that have disease, the ones that hobble, And we've detached from this. We've detached from reality. And so when we see, you can't show that kind of stuff on TV. It's crazy how, like in the movies, you can show, even though it's not real, you can show people getting shot and killed and horribly maimed and horrible stuff happening to people. But the minute you show an animal getting hurt or something, or getting ate or something, oh my God, it's outrage. Everyone's outraged. It's like, that's too horrible. That's too graphic. You can't show that. There's kids watching, da-da-da-da-da. But you're okay with watching John Wick and this guy blowing holes in 30,000 people, or watching Kill Bill, where more pints of blood was spilled than it broke records. You're okay with watching that. But the minute an eagle flies off with a baby lamb or something, And that's way too horrible. But that's reality. John Wick is not even real. Kill Bill is not real. You know what I'm saying? We we have gotten so far away from reality that when we see it, it's appalling to us, you know. And I think that one of the things that we need to try to do is get back to embracing reality so that we can actually see things for the way that they are instead of, you know, trying to put a religious spin on something or, you know, explaining things away, you know, having this simplistic mind of good and evil and good and bad and right and wrong, when the infinite reality of the universe is we don't have the faculties to perceive what's good and bad and what's right and wrong. We can't really do it because we don't even have all the information. We can't see it from all of the angles. We're very limited in our perspective. So it's best that we stay away from trying to determine what's good and bad and what's good and evil or whatever, you know. As far as within our own society, then we make up laws and we decide on what works for us, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine. But just know that it's a created thing. It's a construct that we have all decided on. It's like the colors. Who decided blue was blue? And what makes blue blue? What makes red red? You know? Who decided that? You know? Do anything else in the animal kingdom recognize red as red or blue as blue? Anything else in the universe recognize red as red as blue as blue? You know? You have to wonder about this. They most likely they don't. Because we created it. We decided what was red and we decided what was blue. And we all agreed upon it. So that's what makes it, you know, in a construct. And it has its uses. Don't get me wrong. It has its uses for us to create these constructs. That's the reason why we create these constructs, because we have uses for that. Okay? So, but we have to understand that that's just our own perspective, you know. Other animals don't even see that many colors, or there's animals that see way more colors. They get to see more waves of the light, you know. And if you're off the planet, will not on Earth, will red still be red and will blue still be blue? You know, those are the questions you have to ask yourself. So it's like we're floating through space on a ball, on a bubble. And space is not away. It's not a place that's not here. Like we're in space right now as we speak. We just have this little bubble that like shields us from the harshness of space. You know, it gives us this atmosphere. It's like we have a space suit, you know, like it gives us oxygen, it gives us water, it gives us food, literally everything that we need, you know. But the reality is we're floating through space and it's straight up chaos. It's straight up chaos and destruction as far as from our perspective, you know. The peace is just temporary. It's just a moment that goes by. And that's why they say slow down and smell the roses, you know, enjoy the moment, because the only thing constant is change. So we have to realize that these moments are fleeting, you know. The moments of peace are fleeting, and it's not necessarily the natural order of things. The natural order of things is chaos. Or order can only come out of chaos. Chaos doesn't come out of order. Order is the base. I mean, chaos is the base structure of things, and order is like another step, but it's within the chaos. The chaos is everything. Are y'all following me? I feel like I'm going in circles on this. I think I'm gonna come back to this idea once I get the guys in here. I came on kind of late, so we'll see how that works out. Let me share this article right here. This article, am I sharing? Okay. Texas Republicans passed bill requiring 10 commandments in every classroom. So TNR, the new, that's the ticker. Breaking news from Washington and beyond. So Tori Oden, April 21st, 2023. It says, the separation of church and state isn't doing too great in Texas right now. Republican senators passed a bill Thursday that will require all public schools to display a nearly 2-foot-tall copy of the Ten Commandments in every classroom. Each poster must be printed in a size and typeface that is legible to a person with average vision from anywhere in the classroom and displayed in a conspicuous place. The bill's sponsor had previously cited Kennedy versus Bremerton School District, the Supreme Court case that said a football coach at a public high school in Washington State could pray at games, as paving the way for this legislation. And we talked about this, and I knew this was coming. So, I was just thinking something. What was I going to say? I lost my thought. The bill sponsor previously cited Kennedy versus the Supreme Court case that said a football coach can publicly. Okay. Damn it, I lost my train of thought. Let me just read some more. It says the Senate also passed a bill that would let public school districts and charter schools implement a policy that requires every campus to set aside time every day for students and employees to pray and read the Bible or other religious texts. While the bill does not restrict the prayer or text to Christianity, it's safe to say that reading, for instance, the Quran is not what lawmakers had in mind. But it's going to be great because people are going to test this. That's what's going to happen. That's how they're going to get this pushed back, is because they're going to do all the different kinds of religion. Somebody's just going to make up a religion, and that's where it's going to go. Oh, that's what I was thinking. I wonder how much did it cost for this, you know? Who's going to pay for this too? Do they force the school districts to pay for this, or is it going to be a private donor? Where does the money come from? Is it going to come from the taxes? You know about that. So as far as how much this costs, there's some school districts who are having trouble feeding the kids school lunch. Like a lot of kids can't get free lunch. So, but they'd rather spend money on getting a nearly 2-foot-tall copy of the Ten Commandments in every classroom than to, I wonder how many kids can be fed for how long with the same amount of money that they spent on that. How much impact would that have on schools to have the kids be able to eat and not be hungry? Can they pay attention in class better with food in their stomach, or is the Ten Commandments being on the wall is going to help them learn better? What do y'all think? Let me read some more. It says, both bills now go to the House of Representatives. Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick hailed the legislation as one step we can take to make sure that all Texans have the right to freely express their sincerely held religious beliefs. This will be the same man who, in 2007, while serving as a senator, boycotted the first prayer delivered in the chamber by a Muslim cleric. Texas has been increasingly regulating what can and cannot be taught in state public schools, or even who can attend. Republicans introduced a bill in March that would ban students from China, Iran, Russia, and North Korea from all public colleges and universities. The measure, widely decried as racist and xenophobic, has yet to make it out of committee. Wow. I heard them talking about that. They're really going to push. It says it's in committee, so they haven't actually. Yeah, man, that would take some big balls. They said a bill that would ban students from China, Iran, Russia, and North Korea from all public colleges and universities. Why would you want to do that? And why specifically these countries, China, Iran, Russia, and North Korea? What are the people, like what we be talking about on this show all the time is that the government of the people don't necessarily, they're not the same as the people. You know what I mean? You want to punish a certain country or whatever. You don't like what their government is doing, so you punish all the people from there. Those people don't necessarily agree with what their government is doing. Do you agree with what your government is doing? And how would you feel if somebody punished you based on what your government is doing? That's craziness. China, Iran, Russia, and North Korea from all public colleges and universities. So they can't come to school here? Wow. Let me read some more. It says, state Republicans also want to ban public school libraries from having books that feature same-sex couples and transgender characters. And in March, the Texas Education Agency announced it would forcibly remove the Houston Independent School District's elected board and seize control of the district, which is the largest in the state. That actually happened already. That has happened right there. And also I meant to cover this in a previous show talking about the libraries. They're shutting down libraries left and right, closing the libraries left and right. So they were banning the books in the schools. And then the argument is, oh, well, you can still go get those books yourself. But then after that, they're also closing the libraries. This is happening. Let me read some more. It says, all of this is part of a wider movement among Republicans to clamp down on freedom of thought and expression. Texas Governor Greg Abbott and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis in particular seem to be in a twisted game of one-upmanship to see who can impose the most restrictive policies on their constituents. Is that it? These articles are so light and short. I guess people have short attention span nowadays. And I don't know how I ended up with the new, I don't know how I ended up. I didn't subscribe. It doesn't say I subscribed. I don't know. This pops up. I must have accidentally clicked like something, and it keeps sending me these articles. I don't even know how I got this, but when they do pop up and they are an article that's interesting to me, I tend to read them. But this is not necessarily like academic type of reading. I would say like the stuff that I'm used to reading would have went a lot more in depth on this. Like this is so short. But they've dumbed down the public so freaking much now. Like y'all attention span is so short. They can't write they can't expect anybody to read something that they can't read in like a few minutes. It's so crazy. Like with me, we're doing this show, and I used to do so much editing. I used to do 4 shows a week, and I used to do a lot of editing and craft these videos and post them. And they wouldn't get any views or very little views. But so now I kind of just, I was trying to push against the algorithm. I was like, I'm trying to push against the paradigm, and everything is all short clips and everything. So I did my stuff longer, but it didn't work. Didn't work. So, as time I've been doing this like 2 years now, and I keep learning and improving and trying to improve the content. So now, recently, I've been doing these the reels. I've gone ahead and went down that road of making the reels. So I don't even edit anymore, and my channel has getting more views and more subscribers than I've ever gotten before. And it's all off of the muscle of the reels. And I do these live shows, and I just find 15-second clips out of the live show and make them into a reel. And it doesn't take me but like 5 minutes, less than that, to do each one. And I get 10K views, 20 subscribers. 15-second clip. Whatever, man. I have to do what works, right? I want to be viable. I want the channel to continue to grow. The people that are academically oriented, or the people that want to learn more or get more in depth on the topics, then they have to watch the live shows now, because you can rewatch the live shows after we broadcast them. They're there on all of the channels everywhere. So you can watch them and get the in-depth thing, but that's the only thing you're going to get. You're going to have to sift through 3-4 hour shows that I do and try to find where that clip came from and get the damn rest of it around the clip so that you can understand what it was talking about. So that's just what you're going to have to do. But I know a lot of people aren't going to do that. So it is what it is, So the little 15-second clips are what's winning right now. It's really sad. And people think they know something from a 15-second clip, but whatever. I'm just going to keep doing what works. Hopefully I can get more people to actually pay attention to the actual live show so that they can, know what the hell is going on. I'm kind of waiting. I don't want to jump too far ahead before I get the guys in here, whoever's going to get in here today. But we talked about Robert Kennedy. I'm not following him. Let's follow this guy. Lincoln Project. Running for president. I got a clip on that. All right, let's play some of this.
That ensure able-bodied adults without dependents earn a paycheck. The longer President Biden waits to be sensible, to find an agreement, the more likely it becomes that this administration bumble to the first default.
Come on.
In our nation's history.
Kevin McCarthy, Steve Scalise.
Come on. I'm not connected to what am I connected to? The extender. Connected to the extender. Why am I getting sharp problems?
Annalise Stefanik voted 3 times in the Trump administration. I think Scalise missed 1 vote, but they voted to raise the debt ceiling. So the idea that there's actual principle here is out the window.
Why is it doing this? I might take it back. Maybe it'll play better. So let me give you a little, because we was through the text with me and the guys, we kind of had a back and forth about this earlier today, the debt ceiling. And we talked about this in the show earlier, how like this was set up, this was coming. I already said that this was coming and this was going to happen, because they've been setting this up for it to happen this way, with this issue with the debt ceiling. And then it's like, this happens every time, and they say the same shit every time. Like, oh my God, like I'm so tired of hearing the same shit. Like, it's a merry-go-round, bro. Like, and nobody catching on to the game that they're playing. Freaking so anyway, so Lincoln Project posted this. They said blaming poor and working families while playing chicken with the American economy is McCarthy's only plan.
Ensure
So they're blaming McCarthy, but I say good cop, bad cop. It's both of them. The Republicans and the Democrats are playing this game of chicken, and the American people are the ones who suffer. Both Republicans and Democrats, because and then non-voters too. Everybody. Because they're playing with this shit. Come on. It says How to Manufacture a Debt Ceiling Crisis by Kevin McCarthy. They're making like a spoof on this. This is you would think it was a comedy show, but it's real life.
Our proposal will
It says step 1, blame the poor.
also restore work requirements that ensure able-bodied adults without dependents earn a paycheck.
Step 2, blame the president.
The longer President Biden waits to be sensible, find an agreement, the more likely it becomes that this administration will fumble first default.
Didn't they say that last time? Step 3, add some hypocrisy.
Kevin McCarthy, Steve Scalise, and Elise Stefanik voted 3 times in the Trump administration. I think Scalise missed 1 vote, but they voted to raise the debt ceiling. So the idea that there's actual principle here is out the window.
Step 4, look dumb on TV.
A debt ceiling is like giving your child a credit card, and they charge the limit all the way up. Would you just raise the limit? No. You would
well,
sit
if it
down.
meant playing with America's standing and full faith and credit of U.S. government debt,
But if,
I feel like you can deal with the spending in other ways.
If the U.S. faces a downgrade from the major ratings agencies, what will your message be on that day? Will it be, not my fault and not our fault?
So, and my argument is, you know, when they talking about cutting taxes, which everybody always loves to say that, but at the end of the day, that's the same as spending. You know what I'm saying? You're like, okay, that doesn't make sense. Oh, well, let me explain. Because the amount of money that comes into the government in taxes is the amount that they have to spend on whatever, social programs, infrastructure, schools, whatever it may be. But when they cut taxes, then now they have a smaller budget. Okay, they have less to spend. Okay, so, and the other argument I was making was when they were sending the money to Ukraine, all of them were voting for that shit. You know, when they came out with the budget for the military and raised it to even more than the amount that the government, that the president was even asking for, nobody batted an eye. You know what I'm saying? This is a part of what they're spending. It's all coming out of the same pot. So then when you say you don't have money, it's like, okay. And then they want to point at the Democrats and say the Democrats have been spending all this money like they did the infrastructure bill and all of this. You know, they were giving money away willy-nilly during the pandemic. They were giving families refunds monthly, you know, if they was in a certain tax bracket, and they're like, oh, the Democrats was just giving money away willy-nilly. So, you know, that's the problem. It's like, but if you look at the numbers out of the pot, how much did they spend on the infrastructure bill, and how much did they spend during COVID, and how much did they spend giving away to the family versus the military budget that they spent, and versus how much they sent to Ukraine, versus how much they didn't get in income because of the tax breaks that they did 4 years ago. So follow me on this. So let me see. Is there some in this thread that's worth a crap? Kevin McCarthy plan for raising the debt ceiling will require Medicaid recipients to work 80 hours per month. And like I say, they've been making excuses to cut into the social programs, and they've been doing this since the Reagan era. You know, what's the word? I can't think of the word I'm looking for right now, but it's like cutting social programs. They're coming from Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security now. They've cut everything else to the bone. Now they're going for the big ones, and the American people really rely on Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security. And I don't see how they can really get away with it, because this is bipartisan. Republicans and Democrats use Medicare and Social Security, and they rely on it to get by. Like, it's how they live. They wouldn't be able to live otherwise. It's like taking their life away if you take away their Medicare and Medicaid. It's like, go die. So I don't know how they're going to pull that off. You know, in France, Macron raised the age for retirement and the requirements of how many hours you have to put in to start getting your retirement. And shoot, I got a clip in here somewhere where they ran up in the freaking where is it at? That's what's gonna happen here. You come for the Social Security, like, people act like it's nothing, but when they actually pull the trigger and take away Social Security from a lot of people, you're gonna see the streets gonna be on fire here in the United States.
Well, yeah, more than anything else, that particular act right there is actual straight theft. Because Social Security is not necessarily a tax program. It's an investment program that America was forced into. When they take that money, that's like going straight into the 401ks, and that is all the retirement for a lot of people. That's all the retirement that they'll ever have. And when the government says, hey, we're going to take that, that means that a lot of people who have had no extra money, no other way to save for retirement or the end of their life, are just going to be, you know, up poop creek without a paddle.
Yeah, well, and that's just basically the same thing that they did in France. And yeah, I agree with you. It's your money you put into the system that you're getting back.
France just changed the age. They didn't take anything away.
Yeah, but
they've done that. They've done to us, I think, twice that I know of since I've been conscious of politics.
Yeah,
they increased the minimum from, like, I want to say it was 57 or 58, and then it was 65, and now it's upwards of 67 just to get your high-end benefits.
Yeah, man, that is crazy stuff. And United States citizens just let them run up in them like that. And like people are, and then it just came out, the data of the how long you're gonna live, you know. Damn it, I can't think straight right now, but the average age of people dying, passing away here in the United States has went down. So people aren't living as long either. So it's kind of like it's a setup.
Help a little bit.
It's a damn setup. So it's like, okay, just work until you die, basically, when we're not going to ever give you nothing back. You know, that's the setup. So, like, you know, the average.
They took a whole lot of Social Security acceptees out of the whole mix a couple of years ago, all across the planet. Considering over 80% of the people that were deleted were in that upper age bracket.
Yeah.
Which, go funny, in the United States was also a whole lot of Republicans. Them old hard-headed people.
Yeah, they're playing games with our lives, and it's not funny. Let's do an update on that story we talked about last week. We talked about the kid who got shot for knocking on the door, and I probably want to talk about this for a while because I want to go into
you heard about the white girl a couple of days later, right?
Right. That's what I was gonna say. I wanna talk about this in context because there's also, did you hear about the cheerleaders who went to they went to the wrong car and they got shot.
And
Like
the common theme in a lot of this right now has been old versus young, and I'm wondering if that's the new push that they're trying to separate.
Well, let's get away from what the media decides to play just for a second, and we'll come back to that. But there's also the story of the basketball who rolled into this guy's front yard, and he shot the kid and the parents. They was trying to retrieve the ball that rolled into their yard. So
I didn't hear about that one. I'll tell you though, when I was a teenager in it was either California or teenager, so it was either Florida or Louisiana. We had a ball go off in the dude's yard, and he shot the damn ball.
Yeah, so these are the and the media has packaged these together, but these all kind of happened around the same time, and it's similar circumstances where you got the kid who went to the door, who was in the wrong neighborhood, the guy, you got the ball that rolled into the neighbor's yard, and he shot the parents and the kid. You got the cheerleaders who went to the wrong car when they was coming out of the store, and the guy shot them. And then the one with the woman, what is that one? That's the one. What happened in that scenario right now? Refresh my memory. The white lady.
I've got a new phone like yesterday, so I literally don't have any of our info from the last week and a half.
I can't remember, but anyways, it's a similar situation where just kind of like somebody overreacting. It's like a common ass mistake to. I mean, have you ever went, come out of the store and went to the wrong car? Like it looks like your car or something like that. Like I've done that.
I'm an herbologist. Of course, I've done that.
Yes, I've done that multiple times, and
I've had a drink in my life. Of course, I've done that.
Oh, the other one was the girl who pulled into the parking lot. They pulled into the wrong driveway. They were just turning around or whatever in the driveway, and the guy shot them for that. That was the other one. And that's crazy because I've done that too. And like I remember some years ago where I was driving around and then I had to turn around and I pulled into a parking lot and the person that was in the car with me was like, "Hey, don't do that. That's rude or whatever. That's disrespectful. What if they come out and what if they get mad or whatever?" I was like, I don't see no reason why it would be a problem. And they were like, "Well, what if somebody pulled in your driveway like that?" And I would be like, "I don't care." Like
we live in a state where unless they're coming into our house or unless they're like hanging into the car trying to tear the stereo out, we're just going to walk out and scream at them anyway, maybe wave a gun around, but we're not going to shoot anybody.
But I don't even see no reason to be upset at all. Like the driveway is made for cars. Like it's not going to hurt the driveway in any way. I don't understand the problem with somebody turning around in your driveway, like pulling up and turning around.
I'm never going to say anything about that until I know more about the story of the cul-de-sac or neighborhood they're in. Because I'll tell you, I've lived in a house where 82 people at all times of hours of day and night just try to pull in and out because it was the last easy driveway. So I get how some people get pissed. Not pissed enough to shoot people, but then again, I always tend to lean toward not permanently damaging people when possible.
Yeah, I just think we didn't went into some crazy. We're in a crazy zone.
No, this stuff happens a lot. See, the thing is, these statistics the statistics on this. This is where all these shootings are coming from. The inner cities and stuff like that. This is all part of those big numbers that we hear. You know, less than 1% of the people that get shot with the ARs and stuff like that. Most of them are handguns, like all this is, and it's dumb stuff like this is.
Stupid stuff.
Bye, baby.
Well, I think the guns is too easy access. You know, my argument: too much easy access to guns is a problem. Let me.
Well, I'm still gonna sit there and point back to the lady getting beat in the street by the police officers and getting a mask shoved on her face, as to what it's going to be like if that happens.
Well, let me.
You're telling me all the excess and overreach that the government's doing right now, and you're also telling me you trust them to be the only people with firearms. Well, that's very contradictory.
Well, the state already has a monopoly on violence, and that's just kind of
no, they
like,
don't. They've got a monopoly on legal violence.
Exactly. So, and we give them that power. We allow them to have, and that's like the whole definition of the state. They get to choose who can use violence. And
no. We gave them reasonable authority, and they've taken the power.
Well, let's do this.
Same reason why I fight a lot of the left stuff, because you give a certain amount of consideration, and then they come for the rest, whether you want it or not.
Yep. Power concedes nothing. How does it go? Freaking let's do an update on that story, because we talked about it for a while. The kid, the black kid who went up to the wrong door, and the white guy, older white guy, shot him in the head and then shot him again. Didn't kill him, but this is the update. Let's play some of this.
Breaking this hour, the homeowner charged with shooting a black teenager in Kansas City has now pleaded not guilty. 84-year-old Andrew Lester faced a judge for the first time just a short time ago. Lester is charged with first-degree assault. That's a felony in Thursday's shooting of 16-year-old Ralph Yarl. The teen was shot while trying to pick up his younger brothers and ringing the doorbell of the wrong home. One of the lawyers representing Yarl's family tweeted out this powerful photo today. It says, "It's a miracle he didn't suffer even more serious injuries." NBC News correspondent Maggie Vespa is at the courthouse in Liberty, Missouri. Maggie, I know you've been covering this from the start. This is such a startling story still. You were inside the courthouse for this arraignment. What did you hear and see?
Yeah, Peter, we just walked out of the courthouse. This arraignment just wrapped up a few minutes ago. In fact, Andrew Lester was one of several people in a block of arraignments, and the bailiff came outside before it got started and said, if you are here for the Lester case, we're going to bring you in first because we know the interest is high. We're going to do that one basically as a hearing by itself, which is what happened. Andrew Lester, 84 years old, walking into the courtroom after coming into the courthouse through a private secured entrance, walking in with a cane, walking in slowly, basically sitting first in the jury box before proceedings started. Once they did, he and his defense attorney, who did not state his name for the record, but we're working to find it, walked right up to the judge's bench, Lester speaking softly, so it may have been so the two of them could hear each other. Again, kind of the big headlines from this, he pleaded not guilty in this shooting, faced with multiple felony counts for the Thursday shooting of 16-year-old Ralph Yarl. He also was told by the judge of certain conditions of his bond. Among them, he has to report within 24 hours to a bond supervision company. They'll visit once every month at least. After that, he has to turn over any weapons that he has to police. He cannot have a concealed carry permit. He said he does have one, so he'll turn that over as well. And then finally, and of course we expected this, he can have no contact with Ralph Yarl and his family. His attorney saying they will work with authorities immediately to make sure all of those procedures are followed. And with that, Ralph Yarl and his attorney exited through that same private entrance. We have producers and crews circling the courthouse, so if they even poke their heads outside, we hope to hear of that soon. But it was a quick hearing, Peter, with a lot of updates, as you said.
Maggie, you also spoke to the neighbor who says that he helped Ralph Yarl after he was shot. What did he tell you?
Yeah, we know, Peter, that Ralph Yarl, after he was shot, went running for help. His family said that he begged for help at basically 3 homes, and finally a neighbor yelled at him to get on the ground and put his hands in the air. Ralph, this wounded kid, they say complied, At that point, that's when James Lynch, a separate neighbor from all that commotion before, says he basically heard the yelling. He came running, he hopped a fence, and he says he got down next to this teenager who he could tell obviously was gravely wounded, stayed with him till paramedics arrived. Here's part of what he told us. Take a listen.
He wasn't alone. He wasn't by himself. Somebody cared. To lay there in the street alone and scared and bleeding, that's awful. He wasn't alone. I was with him as soon as I knew he needed help, I was there. And I was there with him until the right people were there to make sure that he was okay.
One of many people obviously so shaken by this. I do want to end, Peter, again, if we can pull back up that photo of Ralph Yarl and his attorney, his family's attorney, Lee Merritt. That photo is just astonishing, given what he's been through. He's outside, he's smiling, he's home healing. His family, Peter, saying that he is recovering from this shooting one day at a time.
So
okay, go to the beginning of that again. I want to see if I saw something right. Stop.
Breaking this out.
Go back and stop right there. Is that mother frigger carrying in the courtroom?
No, that's a cane. Oh,
look
you mean
under his jacket.
Oh, yeah, I see that. That can't be a gun. It does look like a holster.
I'm not saying it is. It could be some sort of medical apparatus, but I don't see any breathing thing. I haven't seen an earpiece but that to me looks like a sidearm.
It does kind of, but there's no way they let him just open carry in the courtroom. And anyways, they said
that's not necessarily true. He has an open carry. He has a permit.
Well, they just said they revoted all of
after the proceedings.
Yeah. So
sorry, I'm actually kind of have worked security and stuff before. I've trained. I spot that as a piece.
It does look like it, but something's weird here on the top.
I don't know what. That's why I'm like, I don't know, because
it looks
like
like
I say, it could be some sort of medical thing or something going on too.
Yeah, I don't think that's a piece.
But that was my first reaction. The way it's hanging and the way it looked, and the way the jacket was balled around it, that looked like he was packing.
Yeah. So he's pleading not guilty. What was the charges? Felony. I want to hear the charges. Hold on.
Shooting of 16-year-old was charged with first-degree assault. That's a felony. In Thursday's shooting of 16-year-old Ralph Yarl. The teen was shot while trying to pick up his younger brother's.
So first-degree assault, probably first-degree aggravated assault on a minor.
Doorbell.
That's a pretty serious charge.
Well, it said multiple felonies. That always bugs me. That's like you shoot him, you're going to get 5 charges. It's like, come on, man.
Serious injuries.
They love to pile charges on top of charges. And what did they say that they took away from him? They took away his.
On a block of arraignments.
He has to give up all firearms, and he has to go to a bondsman immediately, and his bondsman is required to visitation at least once a month.
Yeah. So what do you think? What is your thinks about this? Because more and more has come out about it when we talked about it, it had just happened.
I think if it looks like they're going to lose the case, I think they're going to get a psychologist to come in and diagnose him with dementia.
Yeah, I think he's going to beat this too.
I think after that, he'll not have his firearms and have a nurse paid for by the state that comes by once or twice a week to make sure he's okay.
Yeah. And the best that can happen is they're going to give him some kind of slap on the wrist.
And the kid better hope he's got good insurance for any future medical problems that it comes up with.
Yeah.
Just not being bad or good or for or against. I'm just, this is my predictions going based on the system and what we've seen and heard, which I run a pretty solid 60-40.
The grandson came out and said that his uncle was racist, or his grandfather was racist or had racist tendencies. I don't know where that clip is. Did you see that? Because they were that was all over the place.
No, like I say, my phone died. I mean, I couldn't recover copies of messages, data, all that stuff on it.
I must have had it. Maybe I had it in YouTube. I don't see it in here. Let me see if I can find it for y'all right quick.
You know, still, just because the guy is racist doesn't make it a hate crime and shit like that. I mean, I hope they don't try to push that. Because if that's true, they need to go back, and every white boy that ever is getting a shit kicked out of him and called a cracker needs to be turned into a hate crime. Every time a white guy, right now, a black guy can come up, smack a white guy right across the face, and if he turns and hits him and goes, "Fuck you, ninja," bam, it just became a hate crime on the white guy's side. Because he said the word. And that's the kind of shit that we got to stop, man.
I don't disagree with you there, but there's a reason why that they have this designation of hate crimes is because so that these people can, have some kind of justice.
A guy, yeah, okay, but again, we're taking what the law is for, and we're using it to over punish the things that aren't. It's like, I'm sorry, the guy goes up and blows up a mosque or something like that because he hates those people. Yes. A guy that attacks people of whatever race because, yes. But a couple of guys getting into a street fight or a fight at a bar, a couple of words get misspoken, and all of a sudden it's a hate crime. No.
Damn it. I don't see it.
No, that's the guy don't like white people. Oh, he got in a fight with a white person. Oh, hate crime. No, just a friggin' fight. Probably because he mouthed off about stuff. I mean, why are you worrying about hate crime when you're already not frigging following up on real crimes? Not saying that it's not real crime, but why are you trying to label stuff harder when you're letting people walk for assault and all that stuff already? It's like all of a sudden motivations matter. But then if that's the truth, that's going to be the difference between manslaughter, first, second degree, stuff like that. That's where all of that stuff gets jumbled. So I don't know about all that stuff. So to me, that's a jumble.
I don't see it, what I'm looking for, but let's do this one because this is on the
topic. Believe me, it'll pop up again if he said it.
Yeah, it's all of this I'm talking about. I'm probably gonna before the end of the show. I must probably because this shit is everywhere. So I'm not organized enough. Anyways, this is the other one. It says a group of friends pulled into a driveway to turn around when 65-year-old Kevin Monahan came out of the house and shot at the car, killing 20-year-old Kaylin Gillis. And the comment says America has more guns than people, and our sick, obsessive gun culture is killing us. So this one is an older white man, but it's a young white chick who was killed in this one. So the little narrative of the racist part is lost in this one. You know what I'm saying? They can't.
But it's old young, like I was saying.
Yeah.
Now here's something I got to ask, man. You do know that people with hammers kill more people than people with guns every year?
I'd have to see that.
It's on the FBI crime statistics page, right off of there. That's where I get most of the information when I talk about stuff like that. Surprisingly, by percentage and statistics and stuff like that, pew-pews are not taking out as many people as they want you to think they are from other kinds of crime and violence. Matter of fact, the AR styles make up less than 1%. I think it's 1% of the gun violence period and deaths. Most of them actually being small arms, pistols and such.
Let me play this.
Again, getting back into the majority of them being inner city conflicts and stuff like that. We're not even talking about the large number of those that are self-deletions.
Let me play this one. Check it. What? I don't have no sound. What's going on?
Talking to, we identified the victim as 20-year-old Kaylin Gillis from Schuylerville, New York, at the Cemetery Road location. Talking to the other subjects that were there at Cemetery Road in the same vehicle with Kaylin, they indicated that they had been looking for a friend's house in the Patterson Hill Road area and had gone to the scene where we had the report of shots fired. They had gone to the scene in error. They were looking for a friend's house, as I said, and unfortunately, they drove up this driveway. While they were leaving the residence, once they determined that they were at the wrong house, the subject came out on his porch for whatever reason and fired 2 shots, one of which struck the vehicle that Kaylin was in.
So that is the one that we mentioned a minute ago. What's up with the screen?
Ever wonder how?
Let me read a bit about it.
When I was in Louisiana, 8th, 9th grade-ish, I'll tell you the truth. We lived in a small town in the middle of nowhere that didn't hear much but news and rumors. And I heard at least once a month or every couple of months about some dummy getting shot for being on somebody's property, for driving in the wrong house, all kinds of stuff. I mean, it sounds bad. I mean, it sounds horrible, but then again, I grew up back during the day when we didn't have this mass media and all this like we do now. So I'm wondering, are the numbers going up or down, or are we just hearing about it more?
Well, it's definitely, the age of freaking video cameras and social media.
I'm so glad we didn't have all this when I was growing up, man. I probably would have been canceled in my 20s.
But still, us being aware of this as a problem is something that, it is a problem. And whether it's not upticked or it's lesser or more than it was in the past, I don't think is the point. The point is that we have a problem related to this topic that something needs to be done to.
Yeah, people. Well, you know what? People need to be made aware of the laws. Both the people shooting people and the people that are getting shot. When I grew up, they used to tell us, don't walk up on somebody's porch after a certain time of day, But then again, at the other hand, as soon as you turn 18, they give you a big old pack of knives or a big old pack of vacuums and say, hey, walk down this row and knock on every door. Or you're not going to get any money. We're not going to hire you for anything else because, well, the 5 jobs at McDonald's are already filled in this town.
Let me read some of this. This is New York Post. Woman, it's by David Proper and Reuven Fenton. Woman 20 fatally shot by upstate New York homeowner after pulling into wrong driveway. It says a 20-year-old woman was shot dead by an upstate New York homeowner Saturday night after the driver of the car she was riding in turned into the wrong driveway, authorities said. Kaylin Gillis, from Saratoga County was inside the vehicle with 3 pals, and when they made a wrong turn into a driveway while searching for a friend's house in the town of Hebron, the Washington County Sheriff's Office said, as the driver of the car was leaving, Kevin Monahan, the owner of the home the group accidentally pulled up to, allegedly fired 2 shots from his patio at the vehicle, authorities said. Gillis was struck by one of the bullets. Monahan, 65, was arrested and charged with second-degree murder, Sheriff Jeffrey Murphy said during a Monday press conference. This is a very sad case of some young adults who were looking for a friend's house and ended up at this man's house who decided to come out with a firearm and discharge it, Murphy said. After the gunshots rang out around 10 p.m., Gillis and the friends drove away until they could call for help in a neighboring town, Murphy said, noting the area lacks reliable cell phone service. Gillis was pronounced dead when first responders reached the car. She was just too young, and she still had so much to live for. She had a very loving boyfriend, and she was so in love with him, Gillis' cousin Hilly Eustace, 20, told the Post Monday night. I can't imagine how it feels right now. I know they were attached at the hip, and she had a very loving family. It's just a loving big family, and she has such a strong backbone for being a part of this family. And I feel so much anger that she can't have that anymore. The homeowner and a group of friends in the car did not interact, Murphy said. The group of friends also never left the car, Murphy added. It's unclear how long the car was in the driveway, but Murphy noted it was only a very short time. The area where the shooting took place is very rural with many dirt roads where it's easy to get lost, Murphy said.
Scroll up house. That was actually that's a nice little house there. No, that down the house, the picture of the house.
I think that's an advertisement for something.
No, look at it. It says the house where the shooting took place.
Oh yeah, that is nice. It says it's unclear how long. I read that. There's clearly no threat from anyone in the vehicle, Murphy said. There's no reason for Mr. Monahan to feel threatened.
Okay, go up a little. There, stop that sign. What's that say on there?
It says posted private property.
No, I can read the sign. I need the caption.
Oh, a warning posted on the property about trespassing.
Okay, so I don't know about New York, but in Louisiana, if they passed that sign, he had the right to shoot at him. Excuse me, in Louisiana in the 80s. I can't say today. I know not enough to be shot at here in Texas.
Either way, that's wrong. Let me read this.
They have to be breaking into or actively stealing property or livestock in Texas.
Let me read a little bit more. It says, when deputies arrived at the home, Monahan, a laborer, was allegedly uncooperative. He refused to leave his home for over an hour, leading to a bit of a situation before he was taken into custody, Murphy said. Monahan is being held in neighboring Warren County before he appears in a Washington County court at a later date. Gillis' father is a correction officer at Washington County Jail, the Time Union reported, citing public records. The newspaper reported, citing a source, that investigators don't believe mental illness or alcohol are factors in the shooting. He's fucking crazy, if you ask me. Friends of Gillis and her distraught family were still in disbelief over the fatal gun violence. This article
that looks like one of those houses that Koch built, though.
And then they say he's a laborer. How the hell he got such a nice house as a laborer?
In New York, though. Hey, who knows? Maybe he got discounts on getting it built. Like I said,
it's in the middle of nowhere. So
that looks like one of those shady lawyer houses, or like I say, the house that Koch built. Say one of Mattress Max cabins from back in the day.
This light is shining in my eyes.
You need to get you some computer glass, some of those blue block glasses.
That's what these are. That's what these are. But right now, I'm super sensitive or something. I don't know.
Yeah, they don't really help me because I've got ultraviolet sensitive eyes. So
let me play this, and I want your rebuttal on this. Let me see. Am I sharing? Let me share this. So we're talking about guns. It says examining effectiveness of gun laws in blue and red states. NBC. The caption says NBC News Maura Barrett takes an in-depth look at the effectiveness of strict gun laws around the country. As data shows, states with stricter gun laws have lower rates of gun violence. Keep in mind, this is NBC, but let me play this.
Another mass shooting in America.
It feels like this happens over and over and over again. It begs the damn question, what the hell is going on in the United States of America? What the hell's wrong with us?
Just this year, there have been an average of 11 mass shootings per week.
Police are investigating a string of deadly shootings.
Men opened fire on a group of workers, killing at least 8 people.
10 souls have been lost in Boulder, Colorado.
We mourn, and then the political debate begins again.
We know the vast majority of Americans support rational gun violence legislation.
And it's time to put these laws on the books and protect even more people.
A divisive political battle that is mostly decided state by state. And more often than not, the states with looser gun laws are ones that typically swing red, protective of their Second Amendment rights.
And every time there's a shooting, we play this ridiculous theater where this committee gets together and proposes a bunch of laws that would do nothing to stop these murders.
But data shows that states with stricter gun laws do have lower rates of gun violence.
We know when research is done, it shows the impact of these laws and helps us to have an educated, informed conversation as a country about what actually works.
To start, let's look back at this map. The Gifford Law Center for Preventing Gun Violence ranks states based on how strict their gun laws are. Alaska, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, and Montana all received some of the lowest ratings. They're also the top 5 states with the highest rate of gun deaths. Hawaii, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New York, and New Jersey have the lowest rate of gun deaths. They also have the higher ratings when it comes to stricter gun laws.
It often comes down to who can buy a gun, something that universal background checks regulate.
States without background checks have an average firearm homicide rate that's nearly 60% higher than states that do. And in states where laws prohibit people who have been convicted of a violent crime from owning guns, saw an 18% drop in homicide rates.
The pushback from Second Amendment activists often points to examples like Chicago. It has extreme and consistent issues with gun violence, despite it being a very blue city and has some of the nation's strongest gun laws.
But a report by the Chicago mayor's office found that most of the, quote, crime guns recovered were initially purchased outside of Illinois, in states with more relaxed laws. Outside of background checks, there are a multitude of other laws states can pursue, like these red flag laws, which allow family members to prevent people from purchasing firearms if they're a risk to themselves or others.
Extreme risk protective orders, fully comply with due process. Recent study in California identified at least 21 instances in which mass shootings had been prevented by the use of extreme risk protective orders.
19 states have enacted laws to issue these orders. Florida was the only one passed by a Republican legislature, weeks after the Parkland shooting. There's been constitutional challenges on these laws in some states, but even in Florida, the law was upheld after a due process challenge. Across the country, gun violence is higher than last year and versus pre-pandemic levels.
Guns don't have to disappear in order to reduce gun violence, but the data is clear. States with stricter gun laws have lower rates of gun violence.
All right, what's your rebuttal? They did mention Chicago.
Too generic on their statement of what constitutes gun violence and homicides. They're switching it around. I mean, does that mean it happens less, or does it mean they're left dead less often, or does it mean there's less deaths from it? You know, the numbers they're batting around are a little vague. And I'm sorry. Yeah, Chicago gets brought up the most basically because Mayor Beetlejuice and the whole thing going on. But what about Seattle, Los Angeles? You know, we're talking 2 other states. Very, very big gun laws, still really bad. Now, the waves go up and down, and right now, what's going on is there's a gang war going on up there. MS-13, a couple of other cartel gangs are getting it up with the old school gangs, and they're rallying back because at this point in time, across the country, the cartels have been slowly taking down all the traditional old school gangs. They're turning them into their runners, and they're starting to run the shows and letting the other gangs do the money running, and while they do the supplying. And there's a lot of violence going on with this. And Chicago's one of those big towns because you've got the gangs, you've got the cartels coming in, then you've got those 2 old school criminal groups that have always traditionally run the town. I mean, I can't get too deeply specific or anything like that about things I know, but I did spend a little bit of time in Chicago and learned some stuff before I moved down to Houston. And so it doesn't matter what you do with Chicago. Chicago's going to have a lot of gun violence going on for probably another couple of years. It literally is a war zone there.
Well, the argument is that the stricter gun laws makes for less gun violence, and then they were saying,
"Hey, I am for better background checks. I am for closing up some of these loopholes in the gun shows. I mean, you buy one at a gun show, the way it's done, like when you buy online or some of the gun shows, you can basically set up a licensed firearm dealer near you. Like in our case, not trying to do an advertisement, but like Collector's Firearms that took over the big Barnes and Noble down at the end of Westheimer. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
Yeah,
they are now the largest showroom inventory gun show. I don't know if it's in Texas or the South or the U.S., but if you buy something online, they'll send it to them. You go in, fill out the paperwork and stuff like that there, and then you can pick it up through them, a licensed, authorized third-party dealer that can do the background checks. I mean, that's the way it's supposed to be done. Thing is, all these red flag laws we're having right now, while useful, are going to get entirely thrown in the can the first time someone makes a false claim on someone to make sure that they're disarmed and then goes and kills them.
Yeah. So
and like I said, that's the same reason why I have part of a problem about the me and I do not like people who play with children, and they shouldn't. But I still have a little difficulty with the registry too, because too many times they've lost their lives or been targeted because the whole world has public access to who they are, what they did, and what their address is.
And that's dangerous. And so, but did you see the video where they were talking about, man, I'm tired. Freaking.
Oh, I did try to call Pat, but he didn't answer.
Yeah, I came on late. Switzerland. And they were talking about Switzerland and how like they have this gun culture that's similar to the United States, where they love guns over there, but they have like 0 shootings. And they focus on like education, like they focus on training, they focus on like, they have laws where the gun can't be loaded,
Dude, I'm all for ROTC as a phys ed elective, and let the kids learn about firearms and military and stuff like that in an educational setting to see if maybe they do or don't want to go. Let it take place of standing around in a freaking gym, getting balls thrown at you or being the last pitch to play basketball and stuff like that.
Yes.
Let them go out there, do some push-ups, sit-ups. Let them run around. Let them use how to not be afraid of firearms, to learn how to use them. I'm not talking about teach them how to be soldiers. I'm just like any other thing that we do. Hey, let's expose them to this, see if they like it. We might get some good soldiers out of it who want to be, instead of people that feel like I'm going into the military because it's the only chance I have in life.
Yeah, so it forces them to be registered in a militia, something like that. It's got some really cool.
No, that's another one they're trying to do. Is it says militia, so you want to be registered in a militia. If you're not registered in a militia, okay. But then again, once you do that, then who legislates the militia? Who says what is a militia and not? Who authorizes them? Because if the government says it is a militia or is it not, then is that or is that not the government actually interfering with ownership again? You've got the Republic of Texas militia, but then you've got the Texit militia, who actually believes that Texas should exit from the United States. They should succeed. So are they really a militia, or are they a threat of civil war, insurrection? And are you going to say which one of those is or isn't allowed to have guns? That's why I'm a little weird on you must be registered for a militia.
Well, the way they do it in Switzerland is really cool. And it really has to do with the training, and then they have to keep going back. And anyways, I want to read because I can't.
Everyone should have a class,
and that's what it's
If you
about.
want to carry it, I'm sorry, driving a car, in my opinion, takes less responsibility than carrying a firearm.
Yeah.
You are less dangerous if you don't know how to use that car than you are if you don't. Well, that's not necessarily true. I'm going to take that. I'm going to roll that one back.
Let me
control people. Go ahead.
It is. It's dangerous, and that's the reason why But the regulations aren't proper. It's more regulations on you driving a car than it is with you having a firearm, and it's easier to kill somebody with a firearm than it is with a car. So it's not balanced.
I had to roll that one back. No, cars are more dangerous. It's just the specific danger we're looking at. But yeah, I don't have problems with people having classes or stuff like that. One of the funniest things, the movie Wolverine's Red Dawn. One thing that was skipped over in the remake of it in the 90s or 2000s was the very first thing that they did is they went to the pawn shop and the gun stores in town, and they said, okay, get the list of everyone with the registered firearms, go to the houses and take them. That was the first thing the invading army did, was go and got the registry and permission lists of everyone that had guns and went after the people and their firearms.
Yeah. So my argument is that if anyone has access to guns, then everyone has access to guns. And they mentioned in that video that we played in the states where it's more strict access to guns, the people just went and got the guns from neighboring states that had more relaxed laws on the guns and just went and got them from there and came back to the state and, did their crimes or whatever the hell.
They're moving them around like that anyway. If they didn't do that, they'd move over to the state where most of them are getting stolen at, or they move to I mean, it's where you find them the cheapest.
So I really wanted to play this video. I hope that y'all watched it, but this one is from The Daily Show, and I can't play this. So I want to read some of the transcript right here. It starts off, this is, what's his name? I can't think of his name. The tall guy that be on The Daily Show, Michael Costa. The caption says, Michael Costa heads to the world's largest annual shooting festival to find how Switzerland can love guns so much yet have such a low rate of gun-related crimes. So I'm going to read the transcript. It says, America loves guns. Hell, I love guns, but I also hate guns. Another mass shooting in America, another mass shooting, yet another mass shooting. So I was wondering, what if there was a world where people could keep their guns and have no mass shootings? Welcome to Switzerland, a neutral country most known for its cobblestone streets, perfect for skipping its clocks, sophisticated pocket knives and guns. Turns out peaceful Switzerland is one of the most heavily armed nations in the world. And like America, they love their guns, yet they have almost zero gun violence. How the bleep is that possible? Luckily, I ran into an expert. Is that a gun in your pocket, or are you just, oh, that's a gun? Meet Miko. For 20 plus years, he's been a firearms instructor for law enforcement personnel, military, and special forces. He also happens to be one hunk of a man. So, Thor, tell me about Swiss gun culture. It says, we respect the guns because we have a mandatory service. Every man that goes to the army, they get training in the rifle in case of invasion. Hold on. My eyes are freaking struggling. So it says, which, to be fair, is a real threat. Since the last time Switzerland was invaded was in 1798, before color was invented. So, of course, they have a militia. The culture is a little bit different comparing to some other countries. You're familiar with an American, that I'm American, right? Yeah, you can just say these things to my face. You don't have to say other countries. I think the gun culture in America is getting out of hand. It is a joke. There should be common sense gun laws. That's not our strength. Yeah, I noticed that. Audience laughing. Yeah, well, I can't say that, but I don't like it when you say that. There's jokes in here, so that's gonna throw it off a bit, but the information is really good. Let me read some more. It says, but what we do have is that good old American gun freedom. You know how easy it is to get a gun in the U.S.? I just go to Walmart, give him the money. Gun, I know. My Uncle Paul is crazy. Hold on.
You do know that they're, in U.S. subsidizes 80.
You're breaking up. Let me read some more. It says, in Switzerland,
they're one of the NATO countries. They're one of the ones that we 45 backed or 44 back, or 45 backed away from, because we subsidize 80% of their freaking military.
Yeah,
or at least a large chunk of it.
Let me read some more. It says, in Switzerland, you can get a gun from your grandparents or from your father, but you still have to do the paperwork. Even if I get a gun from my grandpa, I still got to tell the cops about it. Yeah. Because in most states in America, you can buy a gun almost immediately without any background check, but not in Switzerland. You apply the permit from the police. You provide clearance of your criminal record that you don't have any convictions. Wait for 2 weeks. He asked, what if it's a small crime? What if you got caught urinating in public? You got caught for sleeping with your cousin because you didn't know it was a cousin because it was at your family reunion and she looked like she worked at catering? What if it's like assaulting a police officer, but really you were just tickling them? If you can't be responsible of following some other simple rules in society to behave, why should you have a gun? You don't need to raise your voice over this. Was there even a payoff to all these rules? How many school shootings have there been? None. What about malls? Have there been many people shot? No. What about like major holidays? People get shot up at major holidays here? Probably nothing. Come on, with all those guns, they had to have at least one mass shooting somewhere. After weeks of research, I discovered there was in fact one mass shooting in Swiss Parliament in 2001, but they haven't had one since. You had a mass shooting 17 years ago. We have one every 17 minutes. This is something that I'm having a hard time comprehending. You learn from a mistake and you made an improvement in the law. That's so Europe. And while Switzerland's last mass shooting was in 2001, America's has had no keep going no more. More, yeah, there you go. Over 1,900 mass shootings since 2012, averaging to about one a day, which is why Miko felt I needed to be properly trained before I headed back to the United States. Oh, man, this is blurring my eyes. This is not going to work out. I wanted to get to the part where they were explaining how they do it. Anyways, I'm going to move on because my eyes are blurred. I apologize, you guys. I'm just going to jump around on some topics and then we'll come back to this. But let me ask you this, Doc. Are you there? The name of the show today is Embrace Reality. And I wanted to talk about the guns because that's kind of related to it, but I feel like we have gotten away from embracing reality. Like we're lost in the illusions, we're lost in the programming, and for things for us as a society or us as a human race to get back on track, I think one of the main things that we have to do is embrace reality. What do you think about that?
I think at this point in time, we're going to have a little bit of problem because it seems like your version of reality and my version of reality don't always meet.
Yeah, so then how do we find a common ground for what reality is?
So why do you think that my go-to when all of us are all over everywhere and trying to talk over, I go, okay, stop, guys, and say, okay, what is the common ground that we all agree on here? And let's start from there. The whole world needs to be smacked upside the head. What is common ground? Come on. We need to find out. That's the whole idea. They're poking us so hard at all, and this is both sides. They're poking us so hard at all these things that build up such tension and such emotion in us that we don't care what we agree on. We're so pissed off that we don't agree on all of this, and this is made to be so important. But what's really important is, hey, where are we as people? Where are we okay? Because right now, all I hear from you is what you don't like and what you don't want and what you hate. So tell me what you do, but steer away from this crap we're arguing about. Let's find our common grounds. Stop harping, stop concentrating every bit of the conversation, every bit of the relationship on the things. How long were you with the last girl that started talking nothing but about all the things that they didn't like about being around you?
Not long at all.
Okay. That's the way we're treating each other as people right now. As human beings, we're treating each other more like the sum total of everything that bugs me about you than just, I'm willing to take this time out of my life to go, how much I dislike you. Why do I like you enough to spend my time to do that? That's where we should be coming from. I obviously want to take the time out of my life to get this person to agree with me. Why do I want this person? Where are we connecting? What is that common ground? And then you can find out what that message is that you guys are run across each other for. Because you don't run across somebody unless the universe is trying to give you a message.
I agree with that.
And if you're so busy resisting all the things, all this cacophony of bullshit, then where's the lesson? Where's what you're trying to find in it? And you find that by going, okay, what is the common things that brought us here? Okay, we agree on, and how many times have we realized we're all agreeing on the same thing, just different approaches to that same thing? I mean, since I've started going, hey guys, what's common ground? We've agreed on all of it more often than anything, just maybe not how to get to there, but we all agreed that that's where we were going, or that's what we were wanting.
I'm gonna start just covering random stories. Earlier, I was talking about
Bongio got booted from Fox.
Bongio, who's that?
One of the least of the Fox guys.
Yeah, I don't even know. I don't remember the name.
He does radio. He doesn't pop up. He's popped up a couple on some of the. You'd recognize if you saw a picture of him. But I think they're about to start cleaning house at Fox.
Well, Fox just they just lost that defamation lawsuit against that
was $900 million. They just gave this dude, I think, $700-800 million as a we're done with you here. Take the money, go away.
Yeah. So they were talking about the voting machines being rigged or whatever, and so they had to pay up on that, and now they're saying they're just going to write that off on their taxes. I think I have something on that.
I wouldn't doubt that. It is a business expense.
Yeah, that's crazy. That story is crazy because they were clearly lying about those machines, and they got another suit coming from a different company that does the voting machines. Anyways, I'm probably come back to that. I mentioned earlier about Texas passed. They didn't pass it, but they introduced a bill to put the Ten Commandments in every classroom in Texas. A huge posting of the Ten Commandments in every classroom. What do you think about that?
As an ordained minister and someone of faith, I would have to say, hell no. seriously, if they're gonna do that, then I want the 5 pillars of Islam. I want the Buddhist. I can't remember what that is, or the Hindu. While we're doing that, we might as well put up the Judaism as well. I mean, if you're gonna do that for one religion, you better do it for the main 5 minimum.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe a tree at the end of that to recognize all the other faiths that come from times even before the Abrahamics.
Okay, this one is actually good right here, and it's kind of like where I fall. Like, people think I'm always on the left, or I'm always for Democrats, or like, and I'm totally okay with when the Democrats do something that is cool. I'm okay with saying it, and when Republicans do something that's cool, I'm okay with saying it too. So this one right here, it says Republican-controlled U.S. House of Representatives passed a bill intended to ban transgender women and girls from competing in women's and girls' school sports. And this is really controversial, and it's a lot of outrage on it or whatever, but I'm with this one. I'm with them on this one.
Any state-sponsored school, state-sponsored, be that state or federal, no.
Let me play this.
They say, oh, the science. It's like there is no science. The science is too new right now.
Yeah, they don't have the research.
And no offense, puberty blockers alone can stop them from ever properly developing. And if you're going to without extreme reasons and stuff like that, in my opinion, we're neighboring child abuse.
And it's not
that's
fair.
That's my problem with Dylan. I don't care about this little over-sexualized 11-year-old girl coming into pubescent whatever character that she is. I care that she sat in front of the president and got him to agree in hormone and medical therapy for kids.
Yeah,
But
and it's
other than that, I've known people like him and love them. They're fabulous.
And just on the basic principle of it's not fair to women, if I was a woman and I was competing in sports, and then you letting these transgender people come in, and then I'm just gonna not even want to compete anymore. You know what I'm saying? It's not fair to women.
Well, you
Really
remember
crazy.
the swimmer? You know the swimmer girl and her story, right?
Yeah, I remember that.
She tied with the transgender, and for photo ops and stuff, she had to wait she didn't get the trophy that night. They had to give it to them. She didn't get to, and no offense, that person went from the ranked 426th male swimmer to the first female swimmer in one season.
Let me play this clip right here.
There's a reason why there's a professional basketball for men and women. It's about fairness.
The Republican leader of the U.S. House of Representatives repeatedly appealed to what he called fairness in describing a
That's
bill
how
that
Kobe
cleared
could
the
get a few
chamber
more years
aiming
out of
to
his
ban
career.
transgender women and girls from competing in women's and girls' school sports.
And it's about muscle mass and it's about fairness.
The Republican-controlled House on Thursday passed the measure by 219 to 203, a win for Kevin McCarthy. But the measure has little chance of passing the Democratic-controlled U.S. Senate. The bill seeks to change the 1972 civil rights law known as Title IX, which prohibits discrimination on the basis of sex in educational programs or activities that receive federal funding. The change would require that a student's sex be, quote, based on an individual's reproductive biology and genetics at birth. Republican House Majority Leader Steve Scalise joined other House Republicans outside the Capitol after the vote.
The whole intention of Title IX was to create more opportunities for women to compete in sports. And yet it undermines the very fabric when you say.
That's what I get for pressing
A biological man can just play in a woman's sport if they choose to.
President Joe Biden has vowed to veto the legislation if it even gets to his desk. Democratic lawmaker Sheila Jackson Lee described the Republican measure as another attempt to marginalize and victimize transgender kids.
This is a meaningless bill. The Olympics has addressed the question. The NCAA has addressed the question. When will we realize that we have the right to freedom of religion? We have a right to our beliefs. And in that, we have no right to undermine and threaten the lives of trans children.
House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries.
More than 50% of transgender children have either contemplated suicide or attempted suicide. Where is the decency on the other side of the aisle that in the face of that dynamic, you want to bully trans kids?
According to the Human Rights Campaign, 21 states already have transgender school sports bans in place.
Man, that's crazy. How they gonna call it bullying them? It's bullying them? How is it bullying them to
Because you're not recognizing here's what I want to know. The amount of trans identifying children, preteens, teenagers, and all that has gone up at a dramatically higher scientific number than can be explained by the lessening of the laws or anything like that. The same time, the number of people who identify as gay or non-binary has dramatically decreased. Because just being gay or bi is not cool anymore, but being trans is.
Yeah, it's a fad. It's a trend.
It is now more acceptable to parents who are trying to deal with this psychopathy that their kid is trans than gay. Because that means they really aren't just, there really is something wrong about it. Over 90% of people who identify as trans simply say they are. They have not sought therapy. They have not been diagnosed with gender dysphoria. They just wake up and go, well, I've always felt this way, so I'm going to do it. So, yeah, that's why I have a little bit of a problem with it. I'm not even going to go into these ones that wear dresses and makeup and these finally ratatouille, beards and stuff. Say, I always thought non-binary meant showing the characteristics of neither, not necessarily both.
Yeah, this topic is crazy.
Reason why there's a professional basketball for men.
This is really out of control. And it's not fair.
And look at what you even showed last week. There was a clip that you showed. It says, they came over here to say that they were going to give us money for education. And all they tried to educate us about was that girls can have penises and boys don't always have penises. And that's the kind of stuff that they tried to teach our children. Of course, we don't need their money anymore. And that's why so many people are feeling that way. I mean, we've got this squeaky wheel is greased. And the problem is the religious right was the biggest problem from in the 80s and 90s that I remember. Every other week it was some ungodless crazy. And, again, the moral minority is just as bad as this woke minority going on. And this wokeness, it actually, if you really start looking at it, if you start looking at the people that are preaching it, watching it, you're seeing spam bots and people with multiple accounts. People that are just regurgitating other people's words, but when you ask them, what about this, they can't respond, not in their own words. They don't understand it. They just know it's like a living chatbot. You know, they know to respond this way if you say this, and if you say this, do this. I mean,
yes, it's that political correctness stuff, you know, and it's really weird dynamic because, like you said, it's more acceptable to be trans than it is to be gay. That's weird.
And I mean, look, I am going to tell you, I, from the 80s, have always been a let your freak flag fly kind of person. I mean, I don't care as long as you don't keep hitting on me after I've said no several times. And as long as I don't have to keep a fire extinguisher nearby to like tone you down on me a little while, you know, I tend to walk away from those kind. But then again, you know, so does the rest of that community too. I mean, crap. I love performing on stage during Pride, which is another reason that I don't have that big of a problem with drag queens. Say, I 5 years in Pride, I MC. I didn't do drag myself, but I MC'd a show.
Yeah,
as a wizard doing a D&D game.
And I don't have a problem with the community, and I don't have a problem with people being, you know, whatever. But the thing with the sports is just simply not fair.
Yeah. I mean, and if it was fair, then these transgender women would not be coming in and blowing away these records by such significant times as that a non-biologically born woman will ever be able to do it unless they go through years of testosterone therapy to get to that level themselves. Which means the only way that they're going to get to there is to wreck their bodies. Which they're already doing just being athletes at that high of a caliber and that high of a level. These are the guys that by 35, 40, they're gonna feel like our bones do now at 50.
Let's do this one. I was talking about education and privatizing education. And, you know, they took over the HISD already recently.
Yeah, we were talking about that. That wasn't a private education thing taken over. That's the state taking over, because even you were saying how horrendously horrible it was, and your kid went to one of the better schools.
Yeah. Let me play this.
There's a big and very dangerous scam transpiring right now in Arizona, and it's happening right out in the open.
We talk about phase one of the insurgency to take back our schools. And you know what that is? Doing exactly what Charlie Kirk is doing with Turning Point Academy. We have to build our own schools that educate kids the way kids were educated at the founding of this country.
This is not a prank. Charlie Kirk, the right-wing vlogger and author of a book about why college is bad, is opening up his own schools in Arizona. Schools for Kids. The school is a collab between Kirk and schools already run by Dream City, a far-right megachurch that claimed in 2020 to have eliminated COVID with an air filter in order to lure people to an indoor Trump rally.
Students from pre-K through 12th grade will be offered curriculum and programs to equip our children with the tools necessary to defend objective truth.
And despite what he says here,
because their parents are sick of government schools and they want alternatives.
The real objective truth is that Charlie Kirk's weird new school is actually getting funded by the state government thanks to Arizona's new school privatization scheme, and at the expense of the 1 million kids enrolled in Arizona public schools.
It's all sort of the same ideology of, you know, removing the public good and propping up private corporate interests. Education to them is, well, for some folks, it's a way to spread religion. For some folks, it's just straight profit.
This is the right wing's end. The hysterical protests, the book bans, obsession with critical race theory. All of it is cooked up by the religious right and dark money billionaires to crush public schools and turn education systems into factories of extremism and profit. And it's breaking through in states across the country. Since 2021, at least 15 GOP-led states have established or expanded school voucher programs. We went to Arizona, the most advanced front in the war on public education, to see the catastrophic impact of the GOP scheme and how people have been fighting back. The stakes couldn't be higher.
Arizona teachers met at the Capitol today to rally against the passing of bills in the House and the Senate that would expand the state's school voucher program.
Teachers from all over the state met on the Capitol lawn today, President's Day, to protest school voucher bills that they say would cut funding from public schools and give more to charter schools.
Arizona Republicans promised that their education savings account program wouldn't cost much, because every time a kid used a voucher, the state funding for their education would simply transfer with them from public schools to their new charter or private school.
They get $7,000 to $40,000 put into a class wallet account.
The catch? Anyone can use it, including kids that already go to private schools.
We know that 80% of the kids that are using universal ESAs have already chosen private school. So every time that child's family takes a voucher, it's a direct subtraction from the local public school. And I can tell you those local public schools cannot afford that subtraction. There are 85,000 kids that are in private school and homeschool. Why would they not all take free government money with no strings attached?
The Arizona.
So I was making the argument before about how, it's really just dismantling the public system, and taking the money that should be going to these public schools and putting it in the private schools. Just that's what the whole scheme is, which they're saying it's something else, but that is what the result ends up being. And then they make the argument that it's following the child or whatever, but it's really just taking the money out of the system, and the schools are already trash and, don't have enough funding to properly take care of the children. And so they just taking more money and making it more trash. And it keeps going, it re-legitimizes itself by, okay, the public schools is trash, so we need public schools. So take more money out of the public schools and put more into the private schools. So then the public schools are more trash. So then more people want to take their kids out of the public schools and put them in the private schools. Let me play some more.
On a voucher programs ballooned. It's 10 times over budget what these groups were projecting last summer when the Ducey administration pushed this through the legislation.
How did it get so bad? It wasn't by popular demand, but by the relentlessness of ideological and corporate interests.
By far the two biggest organizations that have been classically sort of supporting school choice and private school choice have been the Walton Family Foundation in Arkansas and the DeVos family in Michigan.
Arizonans loving their ESAs too. And Governor Ducey and I just heard from some amazing students this morning about that.
The Institute for Justice and American Federation for Children, backed by Betsy DeVos, pushed vouchers in 2006, and the Supreme Courts did end up ruling that unconstitutional in 2009. They said, we can't give public dollars straight to private schools. There's a violation of the separation of church and state. And so special interests took those court orders and then said, so what if we just give the money to the parents? Then we're fine, right? They can send it to the private school.
The program was sold to the legislature before I was here as a way to serve a certain population that might not be getting served from a traditional public school.
It's incremental. They start with, oh, let's help the special ed students. Oh, now let's help foster care. Oh, now let's help military families.
And once they use that argument to create vouchers, then every year since then, they've been finding creative ways to expand the population that can participate in these voucher programs.
Now our special education students have fallen to the bottom as far as receiving these funds.
So how has this move to so-called school choice impacted students across Arizona?
We know that academic instability, educational instability, bouncing around between schools, school closures are really bad for children in general and really bad for at-risk kids in particular. The last 4 voucher evaluations have shown test score drops from kids who move from public to private school that are on par with what Hurricane Katrina did to learning rates in New Orleans after the hurricane hit, and more recently to what COVID-19 did to test scores after exams began to resume.
And yet, turning vouchers into a statewide program was a top priority of former Governor Doug Ducey, who pushed the legislature to pass it in 2017.
We ran a statewide campaign. It was on the ballot in 2018, and Arizona voters overwhelmingly rejected the measure that the legislators had passed. They rejected vouchers 2-1.
The next election, Arizonans voted to tax the rich and fund public schools. But the Republican Ducey-appointed state Supreme Court stepped in and tossed it.
So what do you think, Doc? I know where you are on this, but let me hear your argument.
Yeah, like I say, I'm all with the the money following the kid, except I do have some exceptions to that. Things like if you're going to homeschool your kid, then you should not get the money. If your kid's going to go to a Christian-based or a religion-based, no matter what that religion is, kind of school or academy, then the government money should not follow.
Yeah, I think the whole thing is a scam. It's just another way for them
now
to
that's
make
going to leave an open hole for like this one he's doing. Well, no, because he's running it through a Christian-based church, which, like I said, I don't think if it's a Christian-based church, like the kids that go to the Jesuit school over here off of Bel Air, I don't think they should get vouchers from the government because they are going to a Jesuit academy. Not just a private school, but a private religious-based school. That money, our tax money should not go to children participating in that school. And that's where things are getting wonky. I think if the parent is going to take it on themselves to homeschool a child, first of all, they should have somehow they're going to have regular tests and reviews. They're going to have to go somewhere and say, hey, man, we need to make sure your kid is at a minimum 8th grade standard or minimum high school standard, Otherwise, all they're going to be able to get is a GED. And we should not be funding a year-to-year basis for GED. Just schools, Dixie. No one wants to hear that. Please chill. Thank you.
And it's all just a scam. I don't think they care about these kids at all. It's just another way to make money, and get it from the government too, So it's like.
And another thing is these schools, they need to be held accountable for the quality of their education. Their kids should have to, at key levels like middle school, high school, certain things like that, should be able to pass a minimum skills test, even knowing those minimum skills are dumb.
And it's less oversight when it's the private schools. They get to get away with a lot more stuff. And like I saw a story where it was showing the scores of these kids in these private schools. They're not, the big story came out, I think it was Baltimore, and they were talking about the kids who couldn't read, at all. And freaking this private school was getting just as bad scores.
Man, some of the kids that my son went to school with were dumber than a bag of hammers. I mean, seriously? I think they learned English more from rap music than they did from actually reading and speaking. I mean, one guy argued with me that I am the way I am because I grew up on the mean streets of A-Leaf.
Yeah.
I really wanted to take him into the bathroom and give him a swirly, but that would have been bad.
Let me play some more.
Last year, Arizona public schools ranked 49th in the country in teacher pay and graduation rate, and dead last in overall quality.
Education funding has been an issue for my whole life. I'm born and raised in Arizona, and I have never gone to a fully funded public education setting.
Right now it is exhausting to be a public school teacher in Arizona. I am a permanent sub in a middle school because of the teacher shortage.
We don't have aides, we don't have coaches, librarians, right? Music teachers, art teachers, all of that has been stripped away from most of our schools. And our buildings are crumbling.
They don't have the supplies that are required of a public education. Some of our schools are still teaching off books that are so old they don't acknowledge 9/11. It would be impossible to ignore how a lot of what's going on is an organized effort to create an environment that makes it hard for public schools to exist, so that there's this outside pressure pushing families to make choices that where they send their children to charter schools and private schools.
I'm from, southern Arizona. I'm from the border. I'm from Nogales, where we know that there are 1 or 2 private schools, but the rest of the community goes to public school. They have nowhere to go. So at the same moment that their schools are being defunded and told, oh, go to a private school. Well, these rural communities, they don't have private schools to access.
Instead of funding public education, taxpayer money is going to places
like I
such
need
as
to
Great
open
Heart
a
schools, run by a right-wing Christian school that has a long history of discrimination against students and families. The school is expanding, opening academies that cost $7,000 a year, or the value of a voucher. These schools can accept or reject any student they want, as can private elite schools.
It's become a government-facilitated, self-segregation, where we have entire charter schools that are devout of diversity.
We've seen instances where private schools find out that the student has 2 moms or 2 dads, and then all of a sudden that student is put out because that doesn't go along with their their mission statement or their values. And so these are public taxpayer dollars that are used to discriminate against students and families.
If they're not discriminatory, many of these private and charter schools are for-profit grifts, more concerned with siphoning off cash than educating kids.
It's another big story in 2018 that will carry over into the new year. How charter school owners are becoming millionaires by legally profiting off the schools in many ways that would be illegal for a public school district.
Eddie Farnsworth, who is a lawmaker, he created another company with lobbyists to buy his schools from him, and he made close to $14 million.
They're not looking out for the best interests of the students. They're looking out for their bottom line.
New Democratic Governor Katie Hobbs has opposed vouchers, and she's seeking to roll back the program to end student exploitation and avoid defunding public schools.
Do not believe the false narrative that that this is power to the parent and this is what students from across the tracks need to be successful. This is a grift. This is a national push to privatize education, to take money from our taxpayer. It's a lot of money. There's a lot of money to be made on education. Arizona is ground zero. We are the petri dish where all of this was born, but this is a national push to privatize. Make no mistake about it.
Yes. This is the direction that the schools are going into, and it's just it's a snowball that's getting bigger and bigger. It's turning into an avalanche. I was screaming about this years and years ago. Betsy DeVos. Nobody was listening to me, but it is what it is, man.
No, I'm still okay on the vouchers and stuff. However, some of these accept, non-accept things. That's what's happening to the public schools right now too. The private schools, the vouchers are per kid, and they'll sit there and turn away the lowest grades. And I'm not even going to go with the whole racial, all the cultural. I'm not even going to go with turning them down because of that. I'm just saying they have the option to take the better students, leaving crap in the public education, which means
and that's how they get their scores. The same
because
my
they
daughter
score lower, because of all those people on the average score lower. That changes the percentage of money that the U.S. government gives the state.
It's all a rip. My daughter went to a charter school, most of her, all elementary and all middle school. And that particular school, and the owner is rich as hell. She's opening other schools like crazy, but they pick the bright kids to go to the school. And that's the reason why they keep getting the good scores. And then, so then they get recognized for getting all of these good scores. But they've picked the exceptional kids, and they left out all of the other kids. So of course they're going to do better than the other schools because they only have the high scoring kids in their classes. You know what I'm saying? It's a damn rip. They won't accept the other kids. Let's move on. A little clip right here. French protesters storm stock exchange. That's what I was mentioning earlier, the stock exchange. I was trying to remember what it was. The demonstrators want President Macron to drop his pension reforms and force corporations to fund the social security system. With my sound. So they're running up in the stock exchange building. Looks like they got flares, torches.
Oh no, it's a financial insurrection.
Yeah. That's a crazy scene, man. Macron's not gonna get reelected. I think this time he ain't gonna make it. But then they're probably gonna put somebody else in there. You know, earlier you talked about Chicago and Lightfoot. She's out of there. It's a new guy in there now.
Oh yeah. I'm still going to make fun of Mayor Beetlejuice though.
Yeah, she's not the mayor no more.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm going to defund the police. Oh, I'm going to get 22 units to protect my house. Well, it's different if you guys get hurt and then if I get hurt. You know, if I actually need the protection because of the bad things that would happen. There was some serious judgmental and verbal dodging there. She just creeped me out, dude. I don't care about the gay thing and stuff like that. She just looked too much like Beetlejuice. And no, I'm not going to say it again.
Beetlejuice. I read some of this earlier, but let me read some of this. This is a different article. Public schools would have to display 10 Commandments under bill passed by Texas Senate. The Senate also passed a bill that would set prayer and Bible reading times during the school day. Public schools in Texas would have to prominently display the 10 Commandments in every classroom starting school year under a bill starting next school year under a bill the Texas Senate approved Thursday. The Senate Bill 5151 by Senator Phil King, Republican Weatherford, would now heads to the House for consideration. This is the
Okay,
latest.
I have a question. Why
Go
don't
ahead.
we just do a vote of no confidence in these idiots?
Oh, damn. What did I do?
They don't understand the fundamental United States Constitution, separation of church and state, and all that stuff.
Well, they don't believe in it. They want it to not be that.
Man,
It
I got to do an
says-
argument with someone, and there's something that doesn't direct. They said something about it doesn't directly say there's supposed to be separation of church and state, but there's an argument that there is. And but I'm sorry, this is dumb. I mean,
agree.
what I want to know is why are the people that we've elected as our representatives wasting their time on this crap that even if they do get it passed, it's going to take 3 seconds in the Supreme Court for them to go out.
I don't know about that, but
No,
I know that
definitely that's going to. No, this one, it won't get past the the district courts to get to the overall Supreme Court. It
Well,
never
they
has.
talk about
crap like this never has gotten passed.
Well, they could kick it back to the argument of the states' rights, states' rights. That'll be the argument. And but what
Not if it violates a constitutional right.
Well, it won't, because then they're gonna have to allow other religions, and I think that's what'll pull it apart. Because as soon as the kids start going in there and doing Ramadan or something, then they're gonna have a problem.
That's what the argument is. It can't be just the 10 Commandments,
right?
And matter of fact, there can be an argument that it shouldn't be just the Abrahamics. I personally would be okay if they did it with the Big Seven.
And then it's going to be so much confusion.
I'm assuming you understand Big Seven.
Yes. And then it'll end up being distraction from classwork, because they're going to have to go into one prayer, into another prayer, into another prayer with all the different religions.
I believe a non-denominational moment of silence is acceptable.
I'm okay with that.
And I am okay with not necessarily punishing children for being assholes during that time and being loud, but having them write a paper on why it is disrespectful to crap on other people's beliefs. I mean, and I'm sorry, the argument is, well, I don't believe that way and they're crapping on mine. It's like, well, just shut up out of common human decency. Does your non-belief not allow that human decency? And if your non-belief in whatever allows you to dismiss human decency, then maybe you do need Jesus.
Or something.
Or let's say maybe you do need a higher power.
Let me read some more. It says, this is the latest attempt from Texas Republicans to inject religion into public schools. In 2021, State Senator Brian Hughes, a Mineola Republican, authored a bill that became law requiring schools to display donated In God We Trust signs. I covered that too. That's a big deal. And it says, King said during a committee hearing earlier this month that the 10 Commandments are part of American heritage and it's time to bring them back into the classroom. He said the U.S. Supreme Court cleared the way for his bill after it sided with Joe Kennedy, a high school football coach in Washington State who was fired for praying at football games. The court ruled that was praying as a private citizen, not as an employee of the district. The bill reminds students all across Texas of the importance of the fundamental foundation of America, King said during that hearing. The Senate also gave final passage to the Senate Bill 1396, authored by Senator Mayes Middleton, Republican Galveston, which would allow public and charter schools to adopt a policy requiring every campus to set aside a time for students and employees to read the Bible or other religious texts and to pray.
Yeah. Okay. Moment of silence. I don't think it should be based as a religious. It should be a free time. Period. End of statement. And I got a better challenge for you than putting up 10 commandments and all that, Mr. You need to understand the documents about America. How about the 10 commandments that we should be putting up there? The Bill of Rights. The first 10 commandments of our Constitution.
And that would actually fall in line with what they're saying.
Every single classroom in America.
And that would fall in line when they say the fundamental parts of the country, because that's where it keeps on getting confusion, where they say that this is a Christian nation and all of this. And it's like, where does it say that? It doesn't say that anywhere. Where are y'all getting this from? Y'all straight pulling that out of your ass.
We had a lot of Christian founders, and the early people coming over were different Christian groups trying to run away from the King George and you have to worship this way and the way things were in Europe. And that means they were deists, though. There were all kinds of denominations. You covered that last week. They're different denominations because they all believe in God. And no offense, Judaism, Islam, the three of us, we're all together in this. I don't care what our other, like I said, we need to find our common ground. Our common ground is we all worship the same God. We have different arguments about how to achieve heaven and righteousness and all of that. But that being aside, that actually right there, what I just said is what they were talking about. They're deists. They believe that we all worship the same God. That we all just have different ways of going about reaching that God.
Yeah, but they're not. That's not what they're saying when they talk about the 10 Commandments. Because then they're talking about.
They're trying to say Christian.
Yeah.
Well, no, actually, that would be Christian and Judaism. They're trying to get the Jews to come over on their side a little bit. But if you think about it, technically, Islam has the 10 Commandments too, because they do recognize the Old Testament. Am I mistaken in that? Have I read the Quran wrong?
No, I'd agree with you. I would agree with your
so all three Abrahamic religions all accept the 10 Commandments.
Yeah, I'd agree.
But that still doesn't that is the 10 Commandments are the fundamental of our law system. And I know that sounds really, really weird and is yes or no. And I'm not trying to say that in a religion way, but that's where our first couple of laws came from. Common law. Hey, don't kill each other. Hey, don't try to sleep with your neighbor's wife. Hey, don't steal from each other. Hey, don't run around trying to convince people to do stupid crap in God's name. That's taking his name in vain, not saying, oh, I stubbed my toe, God darn it. That's not taking God's name in vain. Send your money to the Lord, here's my address. That's taking the Lord's name in vain.
Mm-hmm. Let me read a little bit more. It says, Lieutenant Governor.
I'm going to have to dodge that as much as I dodged those freaking guys when I was discussing a certain other religion a while back.
Let me read some more. It says Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick said in a statement that both bills are wins for religious freedom in Texas. Religious freedom. I believe that you cannot change the culture of the country until you change the culture of mankind, he said. Bringing the Ten Commandments and prayer back to our public schools will enable our students to become better Texans. Matt Krause, a former Texas state representative and attorney with the First Liberty Institute, the organization that represented the Washington coach, said the Kennedy case was a victory in religious freedom and the bill will be protected. The Kennedy case for religious liberty was much like the Dobbs case for the pro-life movement, he said. It was a fundamental shift. In opposition to the bill, John Litzler, general counsel and director of public policy at the Texas Baptist Christian Life Commission, said at the committee hearing that the organization has concerns about taxpayer money being used to buy religious texts and that parents, not schools, should be having conversations about religion with their children. I think that's a fair argument. More, it says, I should have the right to introduce my daughter to the concepts of adultery and coveting one's spouse, as Litzer said. It shouldn't be one of the first things she learns to read in her kindergarten classroom. There's a clip here.
Okay.
Also at the state capitol.
If you argue against that, now we're going to have to turn around and bring this back to the sexual conversations.
Right. Right. Because then you got the conservatives talking about
we're seeing what this fight really is about.
Because it's flipping. Because they got the conservatives are saying we don't want you to teach our kids about sex or anything like that in school. And that's the reason why they're all jumping on that stuff, and then they're calling it grooming and the transgenders and all of that. But then you're okay with them putting the Ten Commandments in there, and they're talking about, they're talking about sex in that.
But hey, how about we flip that and go, okay, you want to push this in our classrooms? You want to bring this into our classrooms? Okay, then let's bring this back into our classrooms.
So you're grooming the kids' Ten Commandments.
No. I'm not going to use grooming religion-wise in the same term as I do sexualizing. No offense. My disturbance is less with the whole let's talk about sex to the whole situation of talking about gender and sexualization to children is not as much about all the people that are arguing, oh, it's so bad, it's so bad, it's so bad. It's all the adults that are arguing that they want to do it. That is friggin' creepy to me. That these people want to sit there and say, they're my kids. I can tell them about this. It's wrong of the parents to tell me that I should not be able to discuss this because they should all know and understand this at 6, 7, 8 years old.
So their argument gets flipped upside down when they go this way.
Okay, you do realize this is a game of excesses. All of this. It's like two superpower guys shoving each other. Go back to the whole Roe versus Wade, how that went down. Don't worry about how the court was levied one side or another. That does not matter for this. What matters is how it got brought to the court and how everything went crazy.
Right.
The fight has always been there. We've always rested on RVW to keep things balanced. And it was a good balance. No matter what side you're on, it was a balance. It was somewhere in that gray area of everyone's black hate that we were living with. It should have been made a constitutional amendment. That is another story that does not go to this either. But a series of laws were passed or attempted to pass that was allowing unborn deletion up to birth. As in, if it hadn't, as long as it ain't crowned yet, it's not a life. It's not, it can be deleted.
I don't know if that was actually happening. That's what I was saying before.
It actually was. I sent you links to the articles and the news reports about it. The part of it after birth, after it had crowned, being set to the side, that's the part that is, I cannot find anything
But see,
about.
again, I have to say, just like with the this is like focusing on the 1%, kind of like the argument with the transgenders and back to the grooming.
And where am I?
It's the super extreme stuff is what they focus on, and they use it to punish everybody else.
No, listen to me. Because of that, they turned around and made an equally repressive law in the other direction.
Yeah.
It is a battle of extremes.
But
see,
but I
you
don't
just
think
said
that-
it. You literally just said the point I'm getting to, and the point this whole story is. It's two big boys shoving each other in the media, getting wrecked. It's Superman versus Zod, but they're both the good guys, depending upon which way. But both sides see one of them as Zodderman, and the other is, Super Odd. I mean, it doesn't matter which one you look at. They're both equally good and bad. But they're bullies, and they're shoving each other, and they're busting down buildings. They're breaking institutions and friendships. They're screwing up people's lives over these issues that had been settled for 60 freaking years.
Yeah, so because they focus on the extreme, rare scenarios and act like those are the norm, and they use that as an excuse to pass legislations that, basically throw a freaking monkey wrench in the whole thing. Let me play this clip.
Also at the state capitol today, a bipartisan group of lawmakers of different faiths say they will work together to pass their religious freedom agenda. State Representative Solomon Bahani stood with several other lawmakers and religious leaders.
Come on.
To unveil this slate of bills this morning. House Bill 1882 would expand the list of state optional.
What the fuck did I do? Anyways, let me just get out of here because this is throwing me off. I don't know how much longer I'm gonna stay on.
I did like to see the fact that it looked like it was not just Christian people up on that. Were those people the ones opposing it or the ones supporting it? Because it looked like it looked like at least 5 or 6 different religions, though, excuse me, all Abrahamic, of course. Go figure.
Yeah, I saw that.
Well, we pulled that out right away. Say what? It's something all 3 of them can agree on.
Let's see if I can get away with playing this.
I love high gas prices. I love paying more for groceries, and I really love seeing taxes rise. It's so good knowing that I'm giving more but receiving less. It makes me feel humble, but I'm gonna stop with the sarcasm right there, because I swear we're living in a real jungle. It's what? Pretty simple to me though. It's way past being left or right. Just use your head and common sense and think about how you've been affected in daily life. Is it easier or is it harder? That's the most important question you should think of first, because life is a bitch already as it is, and you don't need someone that's gonna make it worse. Ask me.
Come
on. I think we're fucked. Don't give me that look. Everything sucks. Have you gone outside? Have you been to the store? Have you compared the prices to a year before? Do you drive a car? Have you pumped gas? Don't lie to me now, it sucks ass. You could brush it off like it's a fucking joke, but the media lies, numbers don't. You can't blame Biden, it isn't him. Well, who the fuck is it then? What jacked up the prices? I want to know why I spend so much up at Conoco. I don't know. I think it's insane that the leader of the country gets no blame because the whole entire time, the last 4 years, it was cheap as fuck. I'm just saying. Now watch. Down in the comment section, someone's gonna give us an economy lesson. I can't wait to hear your expert analysis on fluctuation and how expenses balance. It's all a part of the process. What the hell you bitching for? It's fine. Yeah, I forgot about the 16 cents that I saved on hot dogs for 4th of July. What a fucking steal. Too bad I spent more on gas just to get to Target. So by the time I got done buying all the shit and filling up my car, I had way less than when I started. Now, I don't really call that saving. No, I call that losing money. It doesn't take a genius to do simple math, but apparently you can't, so who's the dummy?
Yeah.
All I know is in the last year, my $35 grocery runs are now $50 grocery runs for pretty much the same things.
Mm-hmm. And probably less of it because they have done.
I buy well.
But I'm talking about the net
take
weight.
a look, just go to the set. Yeah, just go to the sandwich meat sections. A lot of them, if you have been paying attention, were pounds 10 years ago, 12 ounces 8 years ago, 9 and 8 recently, and like roast beef is down to a 7 ounce. All still decently priced and everything. But like you said, you're getting way less.
Yeah, the cereal boxes, literally everything is less in the packet. They've changed the packaging on almost everything, and it's smaller amounts of it. Check this out. It says Bin Laden was useful to the empire once. I'd be nervous if I were Zelensky. So it shows a picture of an old newspaper. It says anti-Soviet warrior puts his army on the road to peace, and it's a picture of Bin Laden. It's really old, but I found this interesting because I was thinking about it, and it says Bin Laden was useful to the empire once. I'd be nervous if I was Zelensky. And so I think there will come a time where they're gonna scapegoat Zelensky. You know, I can see that coming.
Yeah, I can't remember. We were actually talking about that last week too. We're moving on to somewhere in Africa, aren't we? As the new, because we've already dropped him. Zelensky shows up less. Yeah, he lost me when he tried to be Captain America and said, I can do this all day. It's like, no, you can't. We can pay you to do it all day, but we don't need another overinflated freaking war movie right now. Not on American dime. Shit, at least the Marvel movies are made for 100 million, not 1 trillion.
And they've lost a lot of people. I mean, the media hasn't covered it, but the Ukrainian army is suffered a lot of losses. And then, you know, you could tell that the tide is turning on Zelensky because the news are coming out about the embezzlement, the money laundering, the money getting skimmed off the top. They just released an article on that.
Hey, I've always been and will always be 100% against Russia for pulling this and what they're doing and how they did it, what they're going by. The fact that they are literally colonizing, old world colonizing them in the media and in the face of the world. And it really pisses me off that there's nothing we can really do about it without blowing up an entire planet. But come on, man. You got to stop this friggin' Rambo shit that Ukraine is doing. I mean, we know how it is. We know how it's gone. It doesn't matter how much you oppose it. It doesn't matter how much you dislike Russia for what's going on and their belief and how this is all going. At what point do we stop fucking killing people?
Yeah. And the whole narrative is moving anyway. It's a lot of movement happening in Taiwan now.
There are things that neither one of them will acquiesce to for peace. And they're putting things, they are saying these things are not on the table deliberately to keep the war going on. And Putin's doing it too. Putin's no longer, oh, we want this territory. They now are saying we control all 4 of these regions, including 2 that are actually contested. And they're like, you're literally trying to take half of our country. Land-wise, you're taking half of our country. And it's like, I'm like, come on, guys.
The narrative is switching. And I think y'all guys, mark my words, I'm saying it right now, Taiwan is going to be the new Ukraine. And then after that, it'll be the Philippines. That's where it's going.
God, I hope not. I want to retire to the Philippines.
Well, the Philippines is up next. It's Taiwan.
Remember, there is the U.S. Philippines. We have Syria. We don't just have regional interest. Excuse me. I'm sorry.
Well,
we have the U.S. Philippines. We have colonial partner there.
Well, you have.
I don't know what to call it. It's like Puerto Rico. They're part of the U.S., but a territory. Yeah, they're actually a territory. They fuck around too much down there. That is actually casus belli for us to join in.
Well, that's completely beside the point. You have to understand what's actually happening. It's a proxy war that's going on. You know what I'm saying? It's a war between these major powers, but they don't want to have like a full scale hot war with each other. So then they use
it's an active 4th generation war, while we're in a 5th generation war in our own countries, within the borders of our own countries.
Yeah, so but looking at it to simple terms, it's a proxy war, and they have to have a battleground, and they don't care about the people. What happens to the people there in the battleground? Like, they're acting like they really care about the Ukrainians. Ukraine is going to look like shit. It's already on its way to that. So, like I say, Taiwan is up next, and then the Philippines after that. It's because they don't want a full-scale hot war. They're just going to continue this proxy war thing, and it's going to move to Taiwan. That's going to be versus China.
Now, the bad thing is Taiwan is the Taiwan one is the one that I'm against Russia and all that, but I'm sorry, this will probably cost us Chinese sponsorship. Sorry about this, but I've always thought Taiwan was one of those little small, badass little countries that made it out of nowhere, but technically they are a Republic of China, just like the Philippines or Puerto Rico or the U.S. Virgin Islands is. Technically, they are to China what they are to, those are to us. So recognizing them as an independent country would be like saying the country of Puerto Rico.
Why is it that the United States
or the country of Guam?
Yeah. Well, Taiwan has their history and culture is different than mainland China, and
Yeah, I
so
mean, part of the way it went, plus the British occupation up to the year 2000. I mean, technically they weren't there. They were a colony of England up until the year 2000.
yeah, but still, all of that is beside the point. They're gonna be it's China, 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 China now.
But
You
I'm
know,
saying
it's
that's not irrelevant. That's actually part of the culture of Taiwan and part of what
that's
people
the
want
reason
to.
why they're
That's why the world wants to defend them and not let China come in and go, "You're ours." Period. End of statement. Screw you.
yeah. So they're gonna use that as their excuse. But what I'm saying is they're gonna fight against China through Taiwan
That's why
as
China's
a
building those
proxy
bases in the South China Sea.
in the same
That
way
and the
that they
fact that
did Ukraine.
literally 80% of the world's transit and trade runs through the South China Sea, not too far off of all that area and Taiwan. And Taiwan is a great place of control to make sure that China can't control all of it.
Yeah, but it's really about this economic warfare. But the economic war,
Oh yeah,
the tech, landscape,
Reagan broke Russia.
the computer chips.
He literally broke them with economic warfare. And that was the end of modern warfare in the world. There is going to be no nukes.
I don't think so either. It's different. We don't fight wars the same way no more.
If there's nukes, it's going to be from a crazy extremist group country that's not going to be tied back to any of the big three.
Let me cover this part right here. It says John Boschnick says the U.S. has turned to South Korea to provide Ukraine with weapons because the EU is not conforming with the U.S. wishes to send enough arms to Ukraine.
Why is it that the United States is looking to South Korea for this matter? Number one, we can see that the EU is not conforming with U.S. wishes to send weapons as fast as or in as sufficient quantities that they want. Number two, France is working around the back of the United States with China. And number three, Ukraine is not seeking these weapons for defensive purposes, but to start a major offensive because they don't have enough artillery shells to make a massive attack on Russia. So we can now deduce from all of these facts that the Ukrainian offensive is still at least 1 month away because they need the shells for artillery and they're having severe problems raising the necessary weapons to make this attack. South Korea has a massive, and I mean massive, stockpile of the shells needed to use in the existing equipment of the Ukrainian army. Now, that means that South Korea has to take from its own stockpiles, theoretically weakening its own defenses. But remember, South Korea is an occupied U.S. military protectorate. So any debate that we are seeing in the media on this subject is simply a matter of push and shove to see who gets what in return for conforming to orders. Because if the United States says jump, South Korea usually responds with, how high?
Yeah, so they're just saying that the United States is going to use South Korea to, because you see, the media is, the people are getting tired of talking about all this money to Ukraine. It's really getting old, and that they're having a much harder time selling that to the American people. They're not going for it. So the United States just put pressure on one of its, subjects to do it for them. Therefore, they don't have to answer to, the United States people. And then it won't be in the media either. We won't even hear about it. It's just a workaround to keep the facade, to keep this charade going. Let me read this one. It says the CIA does not work on behalf of the American people or act in their interests. Putin, 95% of world terrorist attacks are made by the CIA. The CIA does not work on behalf of the American people or act in their interests. The CIA is a rogue element of the deep state and an expression of the will of world oligarchy and their version of a new world order. So I think this is really interesting, and I think that people need to try to understand. And when they be talking about the deep state, I don't think they really understand what they're talking about. And a lot of times people talk about the government did this and the government did that. But, a lot of the stuff that the NSA and the CIA does, they do it without the consent of the government, which also means without the consent of the people, because the people don't elect any of these CIA, NSA people. And also what people have to understand is within the government, the president changes every 4 to 8 years. These directors of the CIA, NSA, they've been in there for decades. And they don't care which administration is supposedly running the show or supposedly in charge or whatever. Like, they don't take orders from them. You know what I'm saying? They brief the president. They tell them what they want them to hear, what they want them to know, and they gear them into whatever direction they want to. But their funding is already solidified, so they already have. And then a lot of this funding is dark money, black money, or whatever, like unaccounted for money. Like you don't even know how much they're getting or what they're using it for or whatever. And like I say, these people have been in there forever, like the same folks. They don't care if it's the Republicans who are in control of the White House or if it's the Democrats who are in control of the White House. They still continue to do whatever the hell they want to do, the same plans they had 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago.
You do know what that statement was in reference to, right?
What?
The St. Petersburg bombings in Russia.
Okay.
He was trying to say that it's the CIA that did these bombings here, not militant forces, not Ukraine, whatever. He literally was trying to say that the U.S. did those bombings.
Okay. And you don't think so?
No, I don't, actually. I think that was some crap involved up there, all in that Eastern European stuff. Ukrainian, I actually think it was more likely Ukrainian people that went in there and did that. Terrorist attacks in the country of the people that were attacking him, that it was the United States doing it.
What?
And I mean, but then again, I'm just not going to go with another country or with a general saying that, they did this, because I want to see their evidence. I mean, you might want to go along with the political line of, 95% of the terrorist attacks are done by our own country because that suits you. But, I want to see more evidence than just him saying that.
Well, those percentages or whatever, But
that's why I want to see more because,
No, but I have seen evidence of. I mean, it's.
Oh yeah, there's a lot, and we've done some stupid shit.
Time and time again, like almost every time. Like every time there's a coup that happens, a lot of times it was the CIA
Well, if the sentiment
involved.
wasn't there, it wouldn't have happened, right?
What do you mean?
That's your argument every time I say that that's what Russia was doing up there. That they were the one that sent in people to change the government and rile up people. You say if the sentiment wasn't there, they couldn't have done it. So, right? That works for both sides, right?
Okay, that's fair. I mean, but it has to be a case by case basis, or like you have to
No.
look at the specific situations. 'Cause,
Okay.
like, I get what you're saying. I hear you, and I'm not giving Russia a pass on anything, you know. But like I think about Central America. You know what I'm saying? And the banana wars, and you know what I'm saying? Like it's usually related to corporations, you know, protecting freaking capital, you know, and extracting resources. 9 times out of 10, that's usually what's happening when it has to do with the CIA in the United States, NSA. You know what I'm saying? So what Russia or Putin's objectives are, I'm not as, you know, familiar with. You know what I'm saying? I know what the USA, you know, NATO, NSA, CIA objectives tend to be, because that's
Well,
what I
remember. He actually was very clear about that in both his speech and in the essay that he wrote, The Reunification of Old Rus. The beginning of the reestablishment of the Rus Empire to its former, where it should be in the world.
Well, if that's what he's trying to do, he's succeeding.
Yes, he is.
Yeah. It was.
And after this, we're going to start helping him.
We're already helping him, because the damn sanctions that we did trying to hurt him actually helped him. And it actually hurt Europe. And that's what I be saying all the time. I think that these people aren't dumb. They do things, and the opposite happens as a result of it. And I think that that's what they intended all along. It's just
Remember,
a
like I was talking about the whole Roe versus Wade thing. Make a law that went too far. We're going to make one that goes even farther back. Eventually, it's all going to come right back to us meeting in the middle where it was anyway.
Let's play this. Is this Robert Kennedy Jr. talking? Let's play this.
Being told about this war is just not true. Nobody talks about this. There's 14,000 Ukrainian civilians who have died, but 300,000 troops. The Russians are killing Ukrainians at a 7-to-1 to 8-to-1 ratio. They cannot sustain this. What we're being told about this war is just not true. Nobody
He's running for president, so he's going to be getting interviewed and all over the place. Oh, I like this. It says Mexico's President AMLO sold the luxurious presidential plane and will use the money to invest in building 2 new hospitals. AMLO has been cutting unnecessary spending on luxuries by top government officials and using that money to fund social programs to help the working class. Couldn't hear you.
Good man.
You wouldn't hear nothing like that happening here in the States, like at all.
Well, we couldn't actually strap President One or whatever they call it, Eagle
Air
One,
Force One,
Air Force. Yeah, because there's too much of our technology tied up into that ties into critical systems all through across the government and stuff like that. it literally can be used as a flying headquarters for the entire government if necessary.
Mm.
It's not just a, hey, let's head over to the West Coast today kind of thing.
Yeah. Let me play this. The White House takes issue
Good
with
afternoon,
Brazil
everyone.
saying the U.S. is
Happy
fueling the
Tuesday.
Ukraine war.
We were struck by the tone of the press conference of the foreign minister yesterday, which was not.
She's so cute. I have to say that every time.
Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Tuesday. We were struck by the tone of the press conference of the foreign minister yesterday, which was not a tone of neutrality, suggesting that the United States and Europe are not interested in peace or that we share responsibility for the war. We believe, and it is true, that it is plainly wrong. Of course, we want this war to end. Of course we do. And we support President Zelensky's call for a just end to Russia's war of choice. And to say, and again, what we heard, the tone was not neutral, and it is not true. And so we'll continue to speak out against that, just like you heard from Admiral Kirby yesterday. I'll say this.
If we want the war to end, then why aren't we pushing for like peace talks?
We are confident in the strength of the U.S.-Brazil relationship.
We are, but
even if we
remember
disagree.
What I was telling you earlier, that's what they're coming up with. They're not coming. They are literally bringing stuff to the table that they will not relent on, that they know the other side will not relent on either.
So that's not. If that's true, then that's not looking for peace. That's trying to prolong the war.
That's why the Chinese peace talks broke down, was because they're both being unreasonable freaking. They're both being some freaking Russian freaking hard-headed motherfuckers.
Well, I don't think that the United States, I think that she's straight up lying when she's saying that, of course, we want the war to end. No, we don't want the war to end over there. Because if we did, it would be ended.
The things that the President Lula said, we are still confident in that engagement.
No, we want it to be ended in our favor.
Well, what benefits do we have in this whole conflict? What benefits do the United States people have in that conflict? What do we get out of it?
You don't know much about the resources that Ukraine has, do you?
I know
Metals,
that they have
uranium, wood, agriculture.
Yeah,
they are one of the most richest and undeveloped, for those richest countries in the world. Probably the second or third.
So we want to steal their resources? The United States is fine. We freaking export food.
No, we're trying to stop Russia from doing the same damn thing, theoretically.
We don't need anything from fucking Ukraine, bruh. We good over here. We don't need none of that shit. We're good. That's bullshit.
Actually, we can use a lot of the resources and stuff, and we have things to trade for it.
We don't need it, is what I'm saying. We don't have no need
Why?
for that stuff.
Why? What don't we need?
We
What
already
resources
have
do we
it.
not need?
We already have
We
that
have some.
stuff.
You don't even know what resources you're talking about. You literally said you don't know, but you also don't know that they have the largest resources of 3 of the most necessary resources, raw materials for the whole tech thing, green energy going on. So yeah, there's shit that we need over there. And that's the same reason China wants a piece of them. That's the same reason Russia wants a piece of them. Matter of fact, one of the regions that they want, the regions that Russia wants to take, literally excludes the Ukraine from having any sites that contain that resource. They are the ones attempting to colonize for resources. Just remember, that's just the way it is.
So then the United States point of view is we want to get it first. We don't want Russia to have it.
That will actually give Russia and China a monopoly on the two of the particular metals.
Let me cover this one right here. I don't know if you heard about this, but it was a 4-story parking structure crumbled in NYC's Lower Manhattan, reportedly killing at least one faculty worker and injuring 5 more. The parking garage just fell apart. So this is footage right after the collapse. I know that they were searching for people, and it was people trapped for a good amount of time.
No, that didn't work out for the dog so well.
Those staff parking garages make me nervous anyways. Like, a lot of those old parking garages, they make me nervous, man. It's like, how long ago were they built? Let me see. Do they have anything in here that's helpful? Nope. Yeah, I saw this story, and I was when it was happening. I don't know. It just, for me, it just shows how bad our infrastructures are across the nation, and where our money, instead of sending money to Ukraine, we should be fixing this kind of stuff so that this kind of stuff doesn't keep happening. We saw all of the railroad derailments and stuff, and we got parking garages crumbling. Anyways, let me see. I'm gonna wrap it soon. Oh, the child labor thing. It says at 5 a.m. this morning, the Iowa Senate passed a child labor bill that allows 14-year-olds to work 6-hour night shifts, allows 15-year-olds to work in plants on assembly lines, and more. All Democrats voted against it, as well as 2 Republicans. Do we have more on this? Give me a second. Iowa Senate passes child labor bill in pre-dawn session. The Iowa legislation went into session very early Tuesday morning, taking up a debate on a bill on youth employment. The session opened at 3:36 a.m. and the vote SV F42 in the Iowa Senate happened at 4:52 a.m. It passed by a margin of 32-17. All Democrats voted against it, as well as 2 Republicans. The bill allows 14-year-olds to work 6-hour night shifts, allows 15-year-olds to work in plants on assembly lines, moving items up to 50 pounds, and allows 16 to 17-year-olds to serve alcohol. Many Democrats say this can be dangerous for kids by putting them in risky jobs. Republicans argue that's not true, and that it's just giving them more opportunities to earn money. I wouldn't want my granddaughter serving alcohol or getting an exception to do hazardous work in the name of workplace learning. A workplace accident can happen in the blink of an eye. It takes mere seconds for a red iron beam to fall. Iowans should not be putting our kids and their kids in dangerous situations, said Senator Janice Winger, Democrat of Johnston. With this bill, we are strengthening and providing protections to our youth. We are not forcing them into slave labor. We are not selling our children. We are not even requiring them to work. said Senator Adrian Dickey, Republican of Jefferson. The bill now moves on to the House. So, and I've noticed across the nation, they've been softening up the laws related to child labor. And it's just another thing.
I was going to
Go
say,
ahead.
go to that toward the end there. Go ahead and say yours. I definitely have a lot to I got a little bit to unpack on this.
Across the nation, they have been. Where?
That text block up here. Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's where the meat of it is.
The across the nation, we've been softening up the laws related to child labor, and I think it's just another example of us kind of going backwards. You know, it's the capitalism, the corporate being sensitive to these corporations, so worried about them and their profits, and not caring about the well-being of people. It's like, you know, going back to the robber barons and the Gilded Age and so forth and so on. There was a reason why, you know, these laws came about, you know, but we've been deregulating these corporations and allowing them to just do whatever they want more and more and more and more for the sake of profit, and it's taken us backwards. And this is an example of it. They're just going to keep pushing more and more and more. Before you know it, they're going to have little bitty kids out there.
Okay, here we're going into your overreacting from a push. You're getting pushed and you want to push back further. Now, unpack some of this and to stop it being from a side that we're trying to find the worst in everything. So, it allows the 14-year-olds to work 6-hour night shifts. And we need to know more about the wording of this. Because I guarantee you this is not exactly what they're voting on. Yeah, this is the block right there. So 14 hours to work 6 night shifts. Now, here in Texas, they cannot work past 10 o'clock, I think it is, on a school night. But that would allow them to work up to 6 hours on a non-school night. When does night shift start? Is it by definition something the state says, or is it like in a bar where technically night shift starts at 4 or 5? Or say a restaurant. Okay. 15 hours to work in plants on assembly lines, moving items up to 50 pounds. Now, if this is just plain rote traffic on assembly lines, like picking up a bumper, moving it, and letting something go blah, 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 nah, I don't like that shit at all.
I don't like any of this at all. It all sounds dystopian to me.
I'm seeing where some of it is coming from actually trying to get them a chance to work. And I'm putting it into terms of like you said, the 14-year-old night shifts. I'm not talking about give them a midnight to 6 a.m. shift. And if that's what's in the law, that ain't right. But it does give them the opportunity to work at something like that. And I'm not talking about convenience stores or anything. 50 plant. I don't understand this plants and assembly lines, but I remember working at a college, 15, 16-year-old working, and I was considered part of that, moving up to, and we just loaded boxes onto trolleys and moved them wherever they needed in the university. We couldn't use machinery or anything like that. Finally, when they changed the laws to where we couldn't do that anymore, they literally put brooms in our hands and let us work until they put us sweeping parking lots was our job until we finally quit because we were sick of freaking sweeping parking lots. And guess what? There were no other jobs for 15 and 16-year-olds in that town.
Well, I don't like that. I don't like the idea of a 14-year-old working at all beyond.
Yeah, I'm not a big on 14-year-old, But I'm also going to open this to small businesses and mom and pop places, family, not necessarily, hey, you're 14, you want a job. And 16 and 17-year-olds to serve alcohol? No, they're not going to go full cocktail. But how many kids that you know that are working there as hosts or hostess that would actually be better servers, but they can't because they can't take a drink to the table?
Because I don't think it's a good idea for 15, 16-year-olds serving alcohol, period. 16, 17-year-olds serving alcohol, period. No.
Why?
I don't, for lots of reasons.
No.
Here, let me give you an example. You work in a restaurant. You know, how many bartenders do you know are freaking alcoholics? How many freaking servers bartenders
did I just sit there
stepping
and
to the side, drinking the drink themselves while they're supposed to be serving it, sipping out of it or whatever the hell?
Yeah,
it happens all the time.
So because other people do badly, other people should not have a chance in their life.
It's putting them in a position where they're likely to make bad decisions. It's putting them giving them an opportunity.
But it's okay. But it's okay to give them hormone treatments.
I don't agree with that either. No.
It's okay to
tattoos, no. Hormone treatments, no. Alcohol, no.
Man, I got a 15-year-old kid that is really doing good. Nice, personable guy. I think he should be made a full server, but they refuse to do it because someone else would have to take the alcohol from the bar to the table for him.
And there's a good reason for that.
He can't walk with alcohol in his hand from there to there?
No, he can't, because
in front of a whole bunch of people, in front of witnesses and all that?
No, he can't, because he might take the long trip to the table.
Because he might. So we make laws to stop people from what they might do. All right, let's go Minority Report.
Well, that's what we do. That's the reason why we have laws, is to deter people from doing things. It's a deterrent. Deterrence works.
I don't know.
That's
As
really
long as you don't go to jail for it and pay a fine, it just means if you're rich enough, you can afford to do it. And that's all these offenses are. They're money offenses.
Yeah, I'm totally against all of that, and it's just going to keep pushing it further.
I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with 16-year-old servers. I got a problem with 45-year-old managers trying to hit on 16 and 19-year-old servers by getting them drunk and giving them coke and stuff like that. And that's
more opportunities for that kind of stuff to happen. Once you put them in those adult environments, that's what's going to happen.
All right. So talking about sex and stuff like that to our young children makes them adults quicker and puts them more likely to be in those situations, right?
Not when you are educating them about sex. That's different.
Wait. It's different now.
It's different when you're educating them. That's not putting them in an adult environment.
The age difference is when you put it in a different environment. You're still introducing that environment to them. Especially with the people that are arguing to talk to our children about sex.
I think the children need to know about sex before they, partake in it, so that they can know what the hell is going on, what, the consequences are. You know, that's not the same as like
and you
putting them
have
in a
talked to
strip club.
and you have talked to your children about that and stuff, right?
I have. I do.
All right. And what if a year or two before you decided that you wanted to talk to her about that, a teacher did of their own volition?
Again, I think that they should know more about it. So I'm not going to be mad at the teacher for talking. You know,
They took that parenting choice away from you, and you're not going to be upset?
I'm not.
They
I'm not gonna
chose
be
that
upset.
they were a better parent than you for that subject.
No, I would look at it as they're trying to help me and help the child. And looking at if they're coming in it with their best interest, their good intentions. Their intentions is to help. I wouldn't look at it as grooming. You put a child in a adult environment,
Hey,
like
you
put 'em in
use
a
that
strip
word,
club,
not me.
and if you put them in a strip club and have them serving drinks at the strip club, and they're like 15, 16
And what did
years
I
old,
just say about that? See, you are literally pushing back. You are using the most extreme possible example of this for every single thing. Well, I don't think they should be doing, because the worst that can happen. But
well, it's
is
a
that what
slippery
it's
slope.
about?
What-
They're literally
what-
saying we're trying to find ways to make more opportunities. Now, some of this is dumb. Some of this is absolutely dumb. But see, now we took it from the only thing I said, like I'm working in a mom and pop restaurant where we got a 15, 16-year-old kid that would be a great server, but he will not have the opportunity for 2 or 3 years because someone else would have to take drinks to his table.
Yeah.
And his opportunity should be completely eradicated by your argument. Because someone might have a 15-year-old kid at a stripper club, which, by the way, you have to be 18 plus anyway to get into. So they're already in violation of having a minor in there, much less serving in the place, and those are two totally different subjects.
It's a slippery slope. You start,
But you don't acknowledge slippery slope with some of the things that you talk about either.
if you start off 14 years old, allowing them to work more and more, then next year it'll be 13, and next year it'll be 12. Before you know it, you have 9-year-olds serving alcohol.
Crap, man. You know, it started at 6, 8, 9, went to 18, 16, 19, 21, and now it's going back a little bit. And again, no one is forcing anyone to do these jobs. No one's saying you have to go do that. They're just saying we want to make these jobs available.
They always talk about opportunities. They use that as an excuse, and it's just they're having trouble finding workers because they don't want to pay people worth of shit. So then they're gonna expand the pool of people that they can get into these shitty jobs by lowering the age of the people to work these shitty jobs.
Oh, so okay,
So that
yeah.
the
Now see,
corporations
here's
can
how
continue to fuck
here's how
over
we can
people.
here's how we can flip this to all the guys at the border.
It's the same argument because that's what I was thinking about. The way that they use the
So we should stop them coming
illegal
in from the border.
immigration.
Then we should stop them from coming in the border, right?
Well, they
We should stop that. We should stop that mass transit because all it is doing is providing a greater labor pool, which is technically bringing them into slavery and stuff like that.
I agree with that. I do. I agree with that.
But you don't. You say we shouldn't have immigration laws at all.
No, I didn't. I never said that. If the people should pay those people fairly.
Excuse me. Open borders.
And I never said that either. The people who they exploit these people. So they make them illegal so that they can pay them trash or not pay them at all. And that's the whole thing. So if they do want those people working for them, then they need to pay them properly, okay, and compensate them fairly. You know what I'm saying? So if the people are legal, then they have to pay them fairly. That's the thing. They use this loophole.
Here's where there is a paid fairly definition. Yet that is now in contest. Why is it in contest? It's in contest because minimum low skill jobs, people who want to camp in them want to be paid the same as someone who's works for 3, 3, 4, 8 years.
There's an argument where there's no such thing as what do they call it? No skilled labor, low skilled, whatever it is. Those people flipping the pineapples and so forth and so on, and they call them unskilled labor. That's the term, and it's not true because the regular folks like me and you, we wouldn't be able to do that job. It is a skill. They just don't want to pay these people fairly because then that's cuts into their profit.
When I talk, see, you brought that in and stuff like that, and I'm not saying that the migrant, the picking jobs, man, I guarantee you, I couldn't keep up with that. I know. I actually worked a few seasons doing shit like that.
Yeah, I've seen it.
I mean,
with my own eyes, and I know I couldn't do it.
You got to understand, I've spent the first 25 to 27 years of my life just doing whatever, anything I could, anywhere I could. Because as a writer, as someone who was writing games and stuff like that, figured the more I did, the more I saw firsthand, the more I experienced, the more I would be able to bring into whatever I write.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you, picking strawberries fucking sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Picking oranges sucks.
And a lot of that stuff, the fruits and the vegetables, they're so soft that you can't mechanize this stuff. Like even the technology has improved dramatically, but a lot of that stuff it has to be done by hand because it's too fragile to be mechanized. So the thing is, they just don't want to pay these people. You know, they're not going to make enough money. So, but then one of the problems is the American people, the United States citizens.
That's why it's cheap. That's why it's cheaper to buy bananas from South America than it is to buy them from America.
Because
that's why all the American small farms in America, instead of going, well, fuck, instead of competing, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to stop using this particular pesticide and say, I'm organic now.
So that they can charge more price. So, but the problem is with huge problem is with us and us wanting to pay 99 cents for a bag of tomatoes or some shit like, you know, instead of if we were, you know, willing to pay the price that it costs to be able to pay those people a fair wage, then, you know, it would come out. But you know, it's twofold. It's the greediness of the corporation wanting to make so much profit every year, year after year after year, and then you got the people who want to pay the least amount that they could possibly pay for some tomatoes or whatever it is.
And it's the delivery companies. I mean, I'm assuming you get to occasionally see deliveries and stuff in your job. If not, you've seen them over the years. You can't work in food service and not lay eyes
Well,
on
you
them
know, I
once
used
in
to
a
be a
while.
manager, so I had to check in all of the produce and stuff. That was a
Okay,
big part of
so
my job.
were you were back there? Were you there back before diesel got super expensive and then dropped back down? Because before then, they didn't have gas charges and delivery fee when they dropped off stuff to a restaurant and things like that.
Well, as far as back as I can remember, that charge was on there. That
Well,
it's called
remember back.
delivery charge or some
Well,
shit.
back in the day, remember diesel fuel used to be less than regular gasoline, and then prices went wonky for like a year, and then when it resettled, diesel fuel actually costs more than regular gasoline now. This is one where I wish Pat or Deuce were on here because they know what I'm talking about.
Well,
It really affected Pat.
Well, I do know what you're talking about because it's a fee that's on there. It's separate from the cost of the produce
It's
or whatever.
like a fuel
It's an
delivery
extra fee.
charge.
Yeah, it's a fee that's
They
on the bottom
started
of,
adding
and it
that
would
during that
fluctuate.
time. And then during the whole thing, when Ukraine first started, you noticed that charge went up. When gas went up to $5 a gallon, diesel didn't go up that much, by the way. But you notice they still added a higher fuel charge. You notice that now everything's gone down to back generally where it was always been. Yeah, I know 45 got it cheaper, but there was also less demand then because we were all locked in our house.
And the argument I've been making for the longest, and it's the evidence is there. A lot of these corporations are just price gouging people, and they're using this excuse.
That fuel delivery charge from all our delivery, and that affects. Think about it. That fuel delivery charge got added back then,
and all you have to do
raised, and now it's been raised again. That affects everything, all the way back to running the combines on the farm,
and all you have
getting
to
the
do
base product to
is
processing.
look at the profits that they're
getting
getting. And they're saying, "Oh, we passing on the the cost on to the consumer because it costs more for our operations. It costs more for us to move stuff or whatever the hell." And that's fair on its face, but then when you look at their profits, it's been dramatically increased since COVID. So if it costs you more to do your business and you have to charge more for your products, then why are your profits like in the billions increased?
I pass a place that gives 10 cents off per gallon if you use cash instead of credit card. Well, if you think about it, they've got a 3 or 4% credit card processing fee. So it costs them about 8 cents, 6-7 cents per gallon to process it by credit card. So technically, when you pay cash, you're saving money, but they're making 2 or 3 cents more a gallon off of you than they would have in the first place. And when you start multiplying that, 2 or 3 cents isn't much till it's 1,000 gallons. And now we're talking about $30 to $100. Now we're talking about a day. Now we're talking about $2,000-$3,000 a month they're making by using cash, subverting fees, and then using if you use the original credit card plate thing as your sale price, you just laundered another 4 to 8% in cash or put it in your pocket off of your taxes.
Yep. I might have to wrap it. I got to work in the morning, and I didn't get that much sleep last night. And I worked all day today. And I was all over the place today. Hopefully I can do better tomorrow. I had some stuff organized, but I couldn't stay on track. I apologize.
I'm pretty bad for that.
And so Anyways, peace and love. Thank y'all for listening. Thank y'all for joining. I'll be back tomorrow. Peace.
Oh.